All right, so officially welcome everyone to this live session. Nice to have the regulars back here. And Mark, I think it's your first time, so welcome. So what we're going to do is just go into kind of a power hour teaching. There's someone, this is doubling as a masterclass. There might be, as I said, people jumping in on us. So we'll go into the teaching, and we'll then if you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask them as we go. And there's Eleanor again. Okay. All right. So welcome to someone else who joined. Someone's put something in the chat. Get the mic to work so you can't hear us. Yeah, we can't hear you, but you can hear us, Sue. Okay, well, that's good. If you have any comments, then just put them in the chat. You can also do a hand raise somewhere down the bottom here. There's various emojis you can play around with that to get attention. But chat's probably the simplest. Yeah, welcome Eleanor from South Africa. We're just going to dive into the teaching. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to ask someone to read the quote. Very appropriate quote for today's lesson. So let's ask one of our regulars. So how about Elaine? Can you read that for us? Ask and it will be given to you.
Yeah. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened.
One of the most well-known quotes, actually, from Yeshua, as quoted in the Gospel of Matthew. He said all of this. Asking you shall receive. Knock and the door will be opened. And if you ask, you will receive. Everyone who seeks, you will find. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Well, we'll go into that. So I'm just gonna kind of go. There's quite a bit of teaching. I'm just gonna go with this. I'll speak it, and then I'll ask people to read the quotes as we go, just to have a bit of interaction. And if there's any questions or comments as I go, then just come in, put something in the chat if you can't speak. So he tells us to ask the Holy Spirit, or if you prefer the alternative terms that we use for this entity called the Holy Spirit. Your inner guide also works. Intuition, it's been called in the Art of Letting Go language. We call it the remembrance of perfect love. So it's the part of you that remembers this idea of perfect love, the state of perfect love. And he tells us to ask that for help when you need it, and assures us that we will receive the guidance that we need when we ask for it. So ask and we'll receive, because you're asking your own true awareness. So you cannot not be answered. So many other spiritual teachers from both ancient and modern times that I've quoted over the last year use very similar language, showing that truth is universal. For example, Joseph Campbell, who those who are members will know, discovered and formulated the hero's journey based on his studies of the myths and legends of many seemingly different cultures, religions, philosophies, and spiritual traditions. Talks about the power of following your bliss, term he used to refer to an inspired purpose that activates a flow of positive, helpful energy. heroes or heroines. Can, you know, we call it the hero's journey, but it's actually applies to both male and female alike. It's the human journey. It's the human story, and this is the quote. So let's ask someone else to read that. Why don't we ask Eleanor? Hi, Eleanor. Can you hear us? Do you want to have a little read of that?
Hi, Jono.
Ah,
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Allow me to. It's my first visit, and I've kind of battled to get in. So allow me to just be listening in, if maybe at a later stage.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Got you.
All right. Let's ask Sally, or either Sally or Jackie, to read that if you can. Is it big enough?
Yeah. Follow your bliss. If you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you. And the life you ought to be living is the one you are living. When you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in the field of your bliss. They open the doors to you. I say, follow your bliss and don't be afraid. And doors will open where you didn't know they were going
Hello.
to.
Hi, Christine.
If you
How are
follow
you?
your bliss, doors will open for you that wouldn't have opened for anyone else.
Oh,
Yeah.
couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Welcome. So nice quote by Joseph Campbell, and again we can look to the modern world of modern psychology. Carl Jung, pioneering Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology, invented the word synchronicity. He actually coined a word to describe this. It didn't exist 100 years ago before he lived, to describe this flow of helpful but logically inexplicable energy. So the dictionary definition of the word synchronicity actually means the simultaneous occurrence of events that appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. In other words, it doesn't seem like there should be any relation. There's no cause-effect relationship, but yet there's something weird going on. It's not explicable by say the laws of science, for instance. So really just a fancy psychological word for a miracle, what Yeshua calls miracles in A Course in Miracles. And according to Deepak Chopra, is one of the two primary symptoms of enlightenment in Vedanta, which is one of the 6 schools of Hindu philosophy, going back thousands of years. So according to Vedanta, let's ask someone else to read that. Christine, can you read that for us?
According to Vedanta, there are only too much light there, sun shining through.
Symptoms of enlightenment. Yeah, sorry. The first
indications that a transformation is taking place within you towards a higher consciousness. The first symptom is that you stop worrying. Things don't bother you anymore. You become lighthearted and full of joy. Second symptom is that you encounter more and more meaningful coincidences in your life, more and more synchronicities. And this accelerates to the point where you actually experience the miraculous.
Huh.
And I can vouch for that. That's all true.
Huh. Have you since you joined, have you experienced some of that?
Yes, I have. Every day it seems to be flowing more and more with magic.
Yeah. Yeah, people call it magic. The Course in Miracles has specific terminology, so we avoid the use of the term magic, because magic actually means the ego's misdirection. It means trying to solve problems on the level of form rather than on the level of mind. So we avoid the use of magic, but understand what it means. Say it's magic, or things just flow. It's miraculous, synchronistic, meaningful coincidences. Stuff just starts happening, and you go, "Wow, how did that?" Somehow it's connected, although you can't necessarily explain how and why. And that's why it's miraculous. So this accelerates to the point where you actually experience the miraculous. And each one of these so-called, synchronicities, miracles, meaningful coincidences is pointing you to the truth. Pointers to the miraculous domain that is really just a signpost to the truth. That's all. So the miracles are not valuable in themselves. They are valuable because of what they reflect, because of what they're showing us. They're showing us that there is another world, there's another reality that's beyond the laws of time and space that actually does work, and we can see its effects in this world. And the miracle shows us those effects. So the first symptom of enlightenment he's talking about, which is a sign that you're awakening from the dream of fear, is a lack of the compulsive worry that characterizes the mental state of so many people. So worry, anxiety is probably the more sort of clinical term for it, is a modern pandemic. I would say there's many people who suffer from anxiety, some chronic, in which case they'd probably be on some kind of medication, but others just on a lower level, constant gnawing anxiety, which is why drugs like Prozac and things are so widely prescribed, because it just kind of numbs that out. So worry, anxiety takes your awareness away from the present moment. It makes both the past and the future real in your mind. So it attaches you to the timeline the ego has invented and blocks your awareness of eternity, which is the gateway to which in this world is the now. So when you're in the now and there's no past or future in your mind, and that is the portal, the gateway to this eternal state, which makes sense. Past and future is somewhere in your mind. You're lost in your mind. It's a mental state that the mind likes to get us trapped in. The now doesn't have is not a mental state. It's a state of awareness. That's all. Ultimately, it's all experienced in mind. But you're not trying to cover over what's already there. So that's the difference. Past and future try to cover over the eternal now moment and get you to focus on really illusions, because you're thinking about what's past. That's illusion. It hasn't in truth really ever happened, and it certainly is not happening now. And the future is just an imagination. Future is just your expectation, imagination, projection into the future. And so it takes you away from the now moment, as this diagram, or the timeline of consciousness and the spiritual escape route demonstrates quite well. So worrying about the future is really just another part of the death wish. So everything that's coming in the future is leading you towards one goal, which the ego is obsessed with, and that is death. So the ego is the death wish. It's taking you to that goal. And the more you focus on the future and the past, the more you root yourself on the timeline, the more that goal seems to be very real. And the timeline being the red line, and then the notches, the red notches on that are the apparent events in time and space. And the arrows here, or the ego's psychological, the red arrows, ego's psychological and emotional attachment to whatever your experience is. And that psychological emotional attachment plays out in terms of past grievances, resentments, anger, and then you project that into the future, and you anticipate a future that's going to be as bad or even worse as the past was. And so that covers over the present moment. Now, the blue arrows represent the present moment, the now, just going into a state of awareness that transcends this red line. And we can call that state of awareness God or Father. Those are course terms. Heaven, love, oneness. It's being called eternity. It's the now. It's pure formless awareness. It's perfect love. We use those terms interchangeably with God in our teaching. Source, knowledge, truth, beingness. I could go on. that list could probably be a list of 20, 30 terms which refer to it. It's a state of mind, it's a state of awareness that transcends the timeline. So you're no longer in time, you're in the now, and you've raised your mind up into eternity beyond the timeline, because the timeline, remember, is linear. It goes from past, really covers over the present. The ego doesn't really even acknowledge the present, and rushes headlong into the future towards its end goal, which is death. You might ask, well, what is the point of that? Well, indeed, what is the point? And what Yeshua is saying to us is there is no ultimate point to time and space. It's a delusion. We are delusional. We're in a delusional thought system sponsored by an insane mind that wants us to believe in its delusion and wants us to stay as far away as possible from anything that's blue. So it doesn't want us to listen to this voice, which is the voice of the Holy Spirit, which comes when we let go or we forgive any situation that's causing us any kind of distress in our lives. And we reinterpret that situation from the perspective of pure formless awareness. So we go into that awareness and we lift ourselves up, we raise our minds out of that situation, and then we can come back and reinterpret it. So that's why the arrow has got its arrows on either end, because it denotes that it's a two-way movement. We move up into the awareness, but then through that awareness, we can reinterpret the situation. And it's going to give us a very different interpretation from the egos. It's going to give us interpretation that can free us. It can help us to find happiness and peace. The interpretation is always, this is not true. This isn't real. Yeah, it's part of a dream. So let it go and choose happiness instead. In the present moment, that is the eternal now that lies beyond time and space. You will never find it on the red line of time, because that is going one way towards death, and everything here doesn't last. Our experiences here are so impermanent. It's amazing that we attach to them so much, because they come and they go. Every experience is so ephemeral. It shifts and it changes. We think things are lasting, but actually everything is changing all the time, just moment by moment as I speak. Your body is not the same as it was a second ago. Now it's changed again. This moment on the level of form and time will never ever happen again. I've said the words, and then it flows forward, and now it's another word, and so it's this continuous stream of change. That's what the ego sponsored on the timeline. And all of that gets a bit wearying. And that's why we feel the call to leave it and to go beyond it into this awareness, which is what this teaching is all about. It's just a tool to help us to go into this awareness and reinterpret our dream, whatever the situation is in the dream that's causing us distress, to reinterpret it from the perspective of this single awareness, pure formless awareness, perfect love. So it's a loving awareness that reinterprets everything, and that absolutely changes everything. So as the diagram shows, worrying about the future is really just another part of the death wish, as the ego, because worrying continuously keeps your mind bound to time. Can you see that? If you keep worrying about what's happening in the future, you're very much bound in awareness to the red line, and you keep your awareness away from anything blue. And you'll notice that as people get often older and the ego takes a hold and they become very concerned and very anxious, if they keep doing that, that will lead them down the road to death more quickly. And things like dementia, we had a discussion on that the other day. That also is facilitated by continuous anxiety. The mind allows it, gives itself over to anxiety about seeming future events in this world. Then it's believing in the illusion of death, and that's a very frightful illusion. It's a painful, fearful illusion. By contrast, the Holy Spirit, or the remembrance of love, helps you to let go of your worries, allowing your natural state of joy to arise spontaneously in your mind and guide your thoughts, words, and actions. So That's why Deepak Chopra says, the first thing is to let go of worry, because that frees your mind to come into the moment. And in the present moment, you can now receive guidance from this higher state. So that's why, that was first, letting go of worry. And then the synchronicities, the miracles start happening when you tap into the blue awareness, and things on the timeline start changing in strange and miraculous ways. And you start connecting the dots and going, well, actually, these things are related. And if I change my mind and I practice what we call forgiveness or letting go, then things tend to work out better, just in this strange and miraculous way I can't really explain. And the reason that happens is to show us that actually there is something that's worthy of our faith beyond the physical. We can't see it, feel it, touch it. It's just purely an inner experience. But the miracles that unfold on the timeline show us that there's something real there. They are the projection onto the four-dimensional screen of time and space of this Holy Spirit, this remembrance of perfect love, that then shows us on this screen that it's there, and it's trying to help us to have faith in it, so that we'll believe in it and we'll trust in it rather than the ego's interpretation of the world, which is quite disastrous. So we'll move away from the red line and we'll start moving up when it's up into the blue. So it allows your natural state of joy to arise spontaneously in your mind, because your natural state, if you're in this state, is joy. There's nothing to be scared about. There's nothing to be fearful of. There's no pain. There's no sorrow. There's no suffering. There's no sickness. There's no death. Nothing ever ends. It's just endless peace and joy. So joy is your natural state. Peace is your natural state. Happiness. We have these words that point to really a state of mind that's actually beyond words. You can't really adequately describe a transcendent state of mind, but the words just point us to it. So because joy is a state that powerfully and positively affects the quantum field, which we all seem to live as human beings. So this matrix, the four-dimensional matrix of time and space, 3 dimensions of space and time, and in fact, there's apparently in superstring theory 11 dimensions, so they say. So there might be multiple dimensions. Well, whatever's going on in time and space is powerfully and positively affected by our joy. So our state of mind has an influence on it, and we influence other minds that are living in it as seeming human beings. So these effects, can be visible. So joy consistently experienced leads to the second symptom, being the regular occurrence of miracles, what we translate as corrections in our alternative non-Christian language, what Carl Jung called synchronicities. Another modern psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi termed flow, and Yeshua refers to as miracles. They are beneficent events and strange coincidences, such as seemingly random meetings with people, things showing up in randomly, can apply to things as well, that help us learn who we really are, as Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi points out in this quote. So let's ask someone else to read that. Sally, if you can read the next quote for us, please.
It's when we act freely for the sake of the action itself, rather than for ulterior motives, that we learn to become more than what we were.
So what it does, the miracle reveals who we are. That's how powerful it is. That's what this quote is saying. Flow, the miracle, it's taking us beyond the self-seeking, the ulterior motives of the ego, which is always self-seeking. It's trying to improve itself, big itself up, puff itself up. So that's the ulterior motive. And acting freely just for the sake of it. So there's a picture of a mother and her daughter just playing. You don't play because, oh, well, I'm playing because I think this is, good for my child to have playtime. And, there's 1 hour of playtime recommended by experts every day or something. No, you just play because it feels good. and there's a natural, playfulness and joy. And the process itself is self-rewarding. There's no ulterior motive there. And when we do that, you can see the mothers enjoy. There's a great happiness and a peace and a serenity on her face, because it connects us with who we really are. Just this joyful self that doesn't have ulterior motives. That's just joyful, innocent, playful, very much like, it's been called the inner child. Just, very childlike, innocent quality, without any of the self-seeking that characterizes the ego and so many adults in today's society. So the point of this really is to reveal ourselves. Miracles reveal who we truly are. That's how important they are. We learn to become more than what we were. So we transcend the limits of our separate self and our self-concept, and we learn that we're actually, much greater than that. And we learn that in these moments, experientially. It's not some intellectual faith. It's just an actual experience, moment by moment. And that's how we really learn this. So these things are not these synchronicities, these miracles, the flow of life, are not random events, but a result of the remembrance of love's guidance that we can choose to listen to or not. So I'm going to ask you now quickly to try this quick mind training exercise. We'll just do a few minutes. So start off, close your eyes, get into a nice comfortable posture, back straight, up your hands in your lap, and take a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, you're noticing how stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Draw the air into the lower stomach, blowing it up like a balloon. And clench your sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. That's the muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. Locks the energy in. Maybe you can feel this warm wave of energy rising up your spine. Draw it up with the breath into your heart center. You can put one hand on your heart. Bring your attention fully into the present moment. And then draw it up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. So now just scan your mind and think back to an event. The past can be useful when we use it with awareness. Think back to an event in your life where you felt an inner nudge, maybe even a persistent call to do something. It probably would not have made rational sense at the time. But you felt this call and it felt good, and you listened. And then just consider what happened when you listened to this inner nudge or call. You can exhale, just letting go and letting that feeling, that experience flow into your mind. It's almost like you're reliving it. So put yourself in the situation, imagine you there. What are you seeing? Who's there with you? What are you feeling emotionally? Maybe there's certain weather going on. Just experience it to make it as vivid as possible in your mind. So my guess is that the situation worked out well for you in a way that you couldn't have planned or predicted when you listened to the so-called nudge. So this is one of the hallmarks of a genuine miracle or correction. It happens without your conscious intention or planning when you choose to listen to intuition, which is just a remembrance of love or oneness. That's always guiding you to have experiences that lead you to a greater awareness of itself. That's what it's designed to do. It remembers perfect love, and so it brings more of those experiences into your mind, because its ultimate goal is that you remember it completely and you are that love. You realize that that's not some other entity. It's actually you, and you are it, and it is you, and there's nothing else. So it's a process of awakening to that knowledge, and that is the only knowledge that's worthy of the term. The knowledge of the self. Know thyself, as the inscription of the Temple of Apollo, the oracle of Delphi in ancient Greece said, know thyself. That was the ultimate message of the oracle, because people would go to the oracle and say, well, help me with this situation, help me with this predicament. But in the end, the oracle was pointing to the self beyond that, saying, know yourself, because that's the ultimate goal of life. And that's actually what everything is for. Everything is there to help you to know yourself better, especially when it seems like it's not, because that's a great opportunity to let go of what you're not, the false self concept, and embrace what you are. Okay, so now pause again. Take another nice deep breath in, and close your eyes if you open them. And now I want you to bring to mind a situation in which you felt an inner nudge, a persistent urge, a call, and you denied it. You didn't listen. You just ignored it for whatever the reason was. Maybe it wasn't loud enough. Maybe you were too busy with other stuff. Maybe it was fear. But just remember that situation. What does it feel like when you denied it? Connect again with the inner feeling. Maybe you can feel it now, just a kind of an inner block, a stuckness. Didn't feel really good. Maybe you listen to the voice of reason. Ego is telling you, no, don't listen to that, because I've got it covered and this isn't reasonable. So put yourself again in the situation, breathe in again. Just try and relive what it was like. So the people there, imagine them, what were you feeling and touching? What was the weather like? What were you seeing? Maybe there was smells, tastes going on. Just connect with it deeply as possible, so that you connect with the emotional energy of it. That's really the idea, is to re-experience that for learning purposes. So now, just consider what happened in this situation. And my guess is it didn't turn out so well for you, and you experienced some difficulty, or perhaps even some severe suffering as a result of not listening to your intuition. So when you've done the exercise to your satisfaction, you feel like you've got both of those experiences. So when you did listen, when you didn't, and the difference between them, and you can see that difference, then just come back, open your eyes. So would anyone like to share any experience that they had? Any story of a miracle, or denial of a miracle? Block to the awareness of love's presence. Maybe we can have one of each. Yeah, Elaine?
Well, I've had a really good week, actually. My miracles and nudges have been filling me with a lot of energy. Even when I've been doing work, people have said, the massage is really strong, and they felt deeply relaxed. So I was like really uplifted. And, so the last week, but then last night, I had a very bad night's sleep, and of course, feeling very denial of the miracle. So that is odd. So it's almost like I've been on a drug, and then
You're going
so
turkey. It's like, oh dear.
Yes. So certainly this instance, a denial of a miracle, which I'm waiting for that nudge. But when you're feeling a bit rough, I realize you've got to move that physical feeling. So it's all work in progress and practice, isn't it? Yeah.
So in that instance, it's what it's showing you is it's a valuable learning experience, because it's showing you the difference between those two states very clearly.
Well, yeah.
Experience, and it's obvious which one you prefer, isn't it?
Oh yes. Yeah, definitely.
No brainer. It's like, well, why would I want to choose to not be in that miraculous state, not have the flow happening? It feels so good. It feels expanding. The results are great. Your clients are going to love it because they're feeling the energy, and then the ego comes back and just kind of contracts that all. and goes,
Mm.
oh, this is too much, and you're going, basically you're going out of its control. Right? You're going into the
It's
spirit.
bizarre. Yeah, it's
Well,
bizarre.
is it bizarre? If you've got a tyrant, right? You've got a petty tyrant in your mind that's run your life, your entire life, and now you're escaping it. What do you think
Right.
it's going to do? It's not going to be happy with that, is it?
Right, right.
Now you're under my control, and don't you forget it. And so, fear is its weapon,
Mm.
and it wants to deny the miracle, wants to deny that flow state. No, Elaine, you're little, you're weak, you're vulnerable. Put you back in your place. Don't get out of hand now. All this miracle stuff is nonsense. Just remember who you are. You are the weak, vulnerable self that I've made for you, and don't you forget it. And then it comes back with an experience like that. But the value of an experience like that, Elaine, is that it shows you the contrast between the states so markedly that you can choose. Which, well, isn't it obvious? Why would you want the ego's gift? Is it really a gift?
Mm. But it
Or
knows
is it-
where
is
to
it-
get your vulnerable spots, though, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
certainly knows, because obviously my husband's away now, and I'm in a house all by myself, and I don't know anybody. So at night, all alone.
So you're feeling alone, so there's the separation, aloneness.
Yes,
It's
it's very
none of which
sneaky.
is ultimately true, but you have to look at that.
Yes.
So thanks for sharing that. And the answer is to let go of that, whatever that block is, to just see it for what it is. It's a block to the awareness of love's presence, and it serves no valuable purpose whatsoever. The only purpose it serves is to block the awareness of your true self and the state of flow and miracles. And that is not a purpose that's worthy of you. So you must let it go. And that's the answer to unblocking yourself. And then listen to ask the Holy Spirit for guidance and listen to the nudges. So you came on the call, that's good. And if it asks you to do something, then follow that, because it's trying to help you to overcome the block.
Right. Actually, interesting you've said that, because I've just had a nudge to get in touch with another lady who's in a similar position. She lives in America. So there's no, so that is interesting. I had a nudge there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then listen, those nudges are there to help you with beneficial events. And the Holy Spirit's trying to help you to unblock and to let your, the miracles flow, and to help you to undo the ego. And it's going to give you these nudges, and because it's trying to help you. If you don't listen, then it's difficult for it to work with you. And if you're very stubborn and you just don't listen to the guidance, then you're listening to the ego, and the ego will try and block out that voice as much as it can. Doesn't want you to
the
listen.
ego's got you round in circles. You're just going round in circles with the ego. Yeah, you're not getting anywhere fast.
Yeah. Well, it's just, all it wants to do is keep you in that very limited, contracted self, in an unhappy state, because that is its identity, and it has no other purpose than to perpetuate that identity, and ultimately that identity will kill you. That's the death wish. So is that of any use? Yeshua's saying to us, look at that. Is that something you really want to allow into your mind? Is this a guide, a worthy guide for your life? And the answer is no, not at all. So let's have a look at what Sue said. My nudge to do something good was when I was doing reflexology. I had an inner nudge to contact my old tutor with a random query. She responded by saying that she wanted to pass her clients onto me as she was winding her practice down. That helped me set up my business at the time, which I wasn't expecting. There we go. So there's an inner nudge. Something tells you, that's what we call intuition. It's just like, okay, do that. And if you follow, then there's a very beneficial event that unfolds. That's beneficial. Now, if you hadn't listened to it, you blocked that and go, no. Why am I contacting my old tutor? No, she might think that's weird. She might think I'm trying to put upon her, whatever. The ego could always find a reason not to do it. Then you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have allowed the miracle that the Spirit had planned for you to unfold. And so it's like we're all tapped in to this quantum field, the one mind. We're all tapped in. And if you really listen, then you're listening to the divine intelligence that is trying to unify that mind into one mind. And that's the ultimate program of the universe. The Holy Spirit's program or agenda is to bring the mind into a state of oneness, which was its original state and still is its original state. So you're tapping into the super intelligence behind everything. You know, it's the one single purpose that the universe has, this universe of time and space, that transcends all other purposes. It's the truth. Well, wouldn't you want that power, that, you know, we'll call it power rather than force. Wouldn't you want that power working for you rather than the ego's very kind of blunt? It's just by comparison, it's not subtle at all. It's just like a force, you know. David Hawkins calls it power versus force. It's a forceful. It's like, no, you won't do that. And it's often got a harsh, critical voice, and the fear, you know, makes you feel very weak and small and alone. And it's completely the opposite voice. And you can't. What Yeshua's saying to us is you can't reconcile those. You have to choose between them. How can you reconcile a voice that's beneficial, that's really trying to help you, and a voice that's trying to enslave you into a life of misery, pain, suffering, and ultimately kill you? I mean, these are two completely opposite voices, ideas, thought systems that do not reconcile in any way, shape, or form. And that's the simple teaching behind you know, A Course in Miracles, and behind all of this, that you can't reconcile love and fear. You must choose. And when you understand that, it's a revelation. I mean, it's so simple. But for years and years and years, what we've all been trying to do is fudge it and go, well, you know, yes, I want love, but I'm not willing to let go of my separate self. So I'm trying to find love and peace and happiness and joy and miracles in my separate self. And Yeshua's saying, give that up. You're not going to be able to find it. Because your separate self, by definition, is a block to the awareness of love's presence, and it denies all of those things that you say you want. So you can't have a separate self concept and believe in that, and also have miracles and flow and happiness. And so the truth is, the only way to happiness is to collapse, destroy, undo, whatever language you want to use, the separate self, being the ego that believes that you are a separate self and individual identity. And that's the only way you're going to consistently experience these kinds of miracles. And that's a bit dramatic and radical. Well, it is, but it works. It's the only thing that actually will work, because the other way doesn't work. And we've all tried it. Does the other way work? You're trying to still be a separate self. You're trying to still control it yourself. You're trying to do things your own way. You want joy. You say you want joy. You want peace. You want happiness. You say you want all these things, but you end up, you don't experience them in that separate self. You experience pain and anxiety and suffering and misery, and you know, life isn't particularly happy in that separate self, because it's always looking out for itself, and it always feels threatened and vulnerable because it's identified itself as separate. So you're alone now, Elaine. That's now the separate self kicks in and goes, oh, you're alone. Something might happen to you. Or you're just alone and you're feeling lonely and a little bit abandoned, and you need human company to not feel alone. But that's a delusion. Because how can you be alone if your source is with you? Do you really think you need bodies, other illusions, people in bodies to be with you, to not be alone? I mean, that's a crazy belief. When you are one with your source, how can you be alone if you're connected to your source? That's the source of all love, all light, all mind is there. So you've got to really bring these beliefs into awareness, and then choose to let them go. Thank you for sharing that, Sue. It's a great example. Anyone else like to share anything? Or we're about sharing miracles or any blocks to the awareness of love's presence?
For me, it's I had one where it was very clearly I was given a nudge to do online courses, and I followed the nudge and it's worked out really, really well. And then the other one is I keep getting a nudge at the moment to play the transformation game online, and I keep getting the nudge, and I'm left with a sludgy sort of feeling in the air. So since you've been talking, I've booked one in, booking one in right now.
Oh, so just do it. You know, the Nike saying says just do it, because if you take the action, if you listen to the guidance, you get the nudge, you take the action. What are you saying? You're saying, I have faith in the spirit. I'm listening to this. It's no good saying it's not a theoretical exercise. You know, this journey, the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks about is meant to be a practical experience. So you act on things, you get results, you see them. It's a feedback mechanism. That's your journey, to show you that, you know, this works, to grow your faith. Yeah, Eleanor.
Just a quick one, Jonah, is that, thank you. My experience has been when you feel sorry for people, you know, you have this empathic feeling coming up and you go against your own spirit because of that. One of the major lesson for me, the recent one, was that I grieved my soul in doing that, feeling sorry for the next person and feeling sorry for others. I grieved my soul, and I was slowly feeling the soul wanting to, you know, I could feel life seeping out. It was that serious in terms of not listening to your inner guidance. And so I just wanted to have that brief, quite an awakening of another kind. Never, you know, there's that never to do that again. And of your own intuition as such. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's a good point. So often people go, oh, well, I can't help but worry about someone else, because it's not me I'm worried about, it's my children I'm worried about, or, you know, someone I love, someone close to me. And then we, you know, the ego gets us that way. But you're denying the truth of your being by doing that. You're denying you call it your soul, your spirit, your true awareness, which is loving, peaceful, happy, and joyful. And that is not a good thing to do for anyone. That doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit the person that you're supposedly worrying about one iota. So, you know, just it's letting go of that worry in all shapes and forms. There's no justification for it, because it's a denial of your own true nature, your own soul, as you call it. And when you do that, that has consequences, and you will suffer those consequences, even if it's for another person and you're supposedly being sympathetic. But that's the difference between sympathy and empathy, as Yeshua teaches. Sympathy is I enter the delusion with you. Oh, poor you. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened. And you make it all real in your own mind. And then those thoughts and emotions drag you down into that pit. It's like drowning with the person. So you're not really saving them, you're just drowning with them. Empathy is reaching down and saying, okay, I see where you're at. I'm not going to join your delusion, but I see that you're drowning. So, you know, I'll try and help you, but I'm going to help you by raising you up out of the water into the clear air of the, you know, the boat that I'm in. I can't help you if I join you and I drown with you. Yeah, so a hard lesson. Well, so, but a good lesson. You know, if you learn it, then you don't have to do it again. And that's why we have these lessons, so that next time, you know, you don't make the same mistake. Okay, anyone else like to share anything? Christine, Jackie? No? Okay, so back to Joseph Campbell. That was just an exercise to give you a personal experience of this. So Joseph Campbell found that there was one universal story that every one of these myths shares. So all these myths and legends that he studied in all the different cultures and traditions of the world, and he was a very well-read man. Apparently he's reading like 9 hours a day. He called this one story the monomyth. It's the story of the hero's journey that the heroes or the heroines of the stories in these various traditions choose to undertake in order to discover who they really are. Despite the obstacles, the trials, the temptations, the challenges presented by their ego or belief in separation and their separate self-concept that is a necessary consequence of this belief. So you have this master belief in separation, and then that belief in separation must give you a separate self. That's how it works. So now you have your own separate self, and your concept of that is your ego. And it's just that, it's a concept. It's in your mind, it's conceptual, it's not reality, but it can seem to be very real for you, as we all know, because we've all lived in it. We've all, if you're human, then you were born into the ego, and you've probably lived much of your life in the ego, being guided by this separate self. And now you're starting to awaken from it and realize that it's not really true. So this is what Campbell noticed, is that this monomyth story inevitably includes the same common elements in it, allowing him to formulate the archetypal hero's journey, consisting of three main stages. So first of all, there's departing the known world, perceived within normal thought system. So you're in the known world, you're in the ego, and you must depart from it. And you don't necessarily go anywhere physically, although that can happen. You move locations, you travel somewhere, that's possible. But it's more a departure from the thought system. So you would change your beliefs, you change your mindset. And you depart from that known world. Then you're initiated into the unknown world, perceived with new spiritual awareness. So now your perception starts changing, your reality starts changing, you start experiencing these things like miracles, synchronicities, and then you might hit an obstacle. Just like, you've described, Elaine. You hit an obstacle and it's like, oh, now suddenly I feel alone, the ego's come back and it feels terrible. And I seem to be back to square one. But the truth is you're not back to square one. You're actually expanding out of the known world, and this is the ego trying to pull you back into that known world. So that's shown, quite well in this diagram. You have the normal world here, the known world, and you got a call to adventure. So let's look at your situation, Elaine, as an example. A few weeks ago, you joined one of these calls, and there was a call to adventure. I was like, okay, do you want to step into this and join us on this journey? We've got a 1-year transformational journey ahead of us. And you were up for it. You said yes. Okay. The next day you said, right, here I am. You paid your course fee, and you committed for the next 6 weeks of the course. So a call to adventure, to leave the normal world, to leave your known world of Elaine and all of your existing beliefs and perceptions and the problems that you have, to leave that behind. That's what you were inviting. That's what the hero's journey is. You met a mentor, so that comes in the form of people often. So there's me in this instance, and then there's other people in the group as well. These are all mentors and helpers who are trying to help you to cross the threshold from the normal world to the unknown world. And those there are people who will try and prevent you from crossing the threshold. There are things that come in which you've just experienced. They're called threshold guardians. It's like the ego fighting back, and often it shows up in the form of a person. Someone or something does something or says something that seems to be not nice and not beneficial, and that's trying to pull you back into the known world, into that old thought system. No, forget all this stuff, this inspiration, this miracle stuff, that's all rubbish. Just go back in your box and just live as you have been. And the ego is going to try and convince you that was okay, and that was actually a fulfilling life. But that it wasn't, because you were restless. You wanted something else. You were looking. You were searching, weren't you? Mm-hmm. So you can't. You got to be strong in your faith and not believe in it, because it's trying to pull you back into a world that really is meaningless. This is just trying to make do in an illusory world with a false self, and you can't expect anything but unhappiness if you believe in what's false. So the hero knows this, and is willing to overcome the obstacles, whatever the ego throws up, because that's what's in your path. The ego, which is your own self, your own self-concept, your own belief in that false self, is going to throw up various obstacles. So the trials, the tribulations, the failures you experience on the journey are all part of that journey. It's the ego's resistance. And that's what makes it a hero's journey, because if there weren't resistance, it would be a piece of cake. You just go, oh, well, of course I get it. I'm home. I'm in my true awareness, no problem. Done deal, I'm enlightened, and we'll all be enlightened very quickly. But it doesn't work that way, because the self-concept is deeply entrenched in your psyche, and it's going to fight back, and it's going to use the world, because the world is a projection, to do that. So now you apparently face trials and tribulations and apparent enemies in this world on the level of form, because those are just the projection of your ego's resistance to the truth, and that shows up in your dream. So now you're crossing this threshold, and you're now in the domain of the initiation, where things are changing fast, don't they? It's like, wow, I'm getting synchronicities and miracles and stuff's happening, and that's great, but there are these tests. And so he talks about the different in the breakdown of the hero's journey. There are 12 phases. Maybe we can just look at them in a little bit more detail, because I think there's something to learn from understanding where you are. If you can kind of identify what phase you're going through, that can be very helpful. Oh, that's just a phase in the journey. Okay, it's nothing unusual. It's actually just part of the journey. Then you stop feeling alone and afraid and scared, and you go, oh, okay, it's just part of the journey, and let's just push through, as every hero has had to do. Because you aren't the first person to go through this, and you won't be the last. It's the archetype of every human being's awakening. That's why this is such a powerful archetype that Joseph Campbell's tapped into, because it's the pattern, the journey of every human being's awakening, and that's what we're here for, is to awaken. So you could argue it's the most powerful discovery ever. And he's not the first person to talk about enlightenment, but he's found a pattern that seems to be quite universal, and that can be very helpful in guiding us. If we know that we're on this journey and we can name these stages, then it becomes easier to navigate them. Would you agree? If you have no idea what's going on, you don't know you're on a journey, there's all this stuff happening, trials and tribulations, it's very easy to get scared and lose faith, because you don't have a bigger picture. So this gives you that bigger picture. It says, look, actually, there's a bigger picture. This is where you're at, and actually there is an end to this, and that end is a happy outcome. So let's look at the first act, the known world, the ordinary world. So that's your normal world, your normal daily life. Maybe it's not that inspiring. You've got various perceptions. Maybe you've got some problems going on. Probably you're not that satisfied, right? If you look at movies, there's usually in the first 5 minutes of a movie with the hero's journey, because this was used by Hollywood scriptwriters. So this is what they use to make movies like The Matrix and stuff. So I'll relate it to The Matrix as well, Neo. It's the movie starts and he's searching. He's asleep at his computer, and there's the computer screen's going and it's saying, searching, and he's got music on and he's fallen asleep. So it's telling you right away that he's not that happy, right? He's searching for the answer, and he's fallen asleep at his computer, and he's alone. Clearly, he lives alone. So in that first sort of minute or two, it gives us a snapshot of his current world, the ordinary world he lives in. He's a computer programmer, he's asleep, and he does this night after night. Well, that gets revealed later, and then in the first 5 to 10 minutes, you normally get a call to adventure. So someone hacks into his computer and he gets knock knock Neo, and he wakes up, and it's like, oh, what just went on? I don't understand that. Was there something mysterious? Because how did that happen? How did someone type a message on his computer? He's never known it, and it doesn't make rational sense. And then she says, follow the white rabbit, and he sees a white rabbit. That's a literary allusion to the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. and he goes down the rabbit hole, and he goes down into the dungeon, and he has to meet a mentor. He meets Trinity, who's someone who's done the journey before him, who's awakened, and is now coming into his dream and says, I can help you, but you need to be careful, because they're out to get you. These threshold guardians, the agents. Then refusal of the call. So the next scene, he's going to he goes to work. He's late because he's overslept because of the night before, and the threshold guardian comes in. His boss says, no, better get back into your box. You're just Thomas Anderson. You're a normal employee, and you think you're exceptional, that you can break the rules, but you're obviously mistaken. So he's been told, no, this idea that you're something else, get back in your box. And then the agents come for him, and he gets the call, literally gets the call from Morpheus to find his way out of the matrix and escape. And he's asked to do some courage, and use his courage and climb over the building onto some scaffolding, but he can't do it. His fear gets the better of him, so he refuses the call. Right, so you see these things playing out. So we refuse the call maybe once, and that's a normal part of the process. Then the agents take him in, they bug him, he wakes up, and he's really not sure whether that happened or not. It was was that a nightmare, or did it actually happen in reality? So he's starting to wonder, what's real and what's not. And then he gets another call, literally phone call, and Morpheus calls him on his landline and says, I'm here, do you want to meet? And he says yes. So he listens to the call, and then he goes to meet him. And he has that, that famous well, there was a scene, if you remember, on the way, where they have a gun on him, and he says, right, enough, because they were a bit forceful. He says enough, and then he's about to get up and walk away, and Trinity says, he says, well, why not? And she says, because you know that road, and you've been down that road before. You know exactly where it leads to, and you don't want to be that. You don't want to walk down that road. So what she's talking about is the normal world, the known world, and he's then got to make another choice to leave it. So he had another chance to leave and go back into the normal world of Thomas Anderson, his ego identity, but he chooses to stay. So okay, I'll go and I'll meet the mentor. So he meets the mentor, who's Morpheus, and Morpheus gives him a choice. He says, do you want the blue pill? Do you want the red pill? Now, and he says, this is the threshold. There's no going back. If you take the red pill, then there's no returning to your previous life. The normal world is forever gone. And he says, remember, all I'm offering is the truth. So he's not promising him a bed of roses. He's just saying, I'm just offering you the truth. And then in the pill scene, he makes the choice. He takes the red pill, and that's the end of the first act. He crosses the threshold. Literally, you see him go through this traumatic awakening, and he then wakes up to reality. And he goes into he wakes up from his pod, where he's actually been asleep all the time, and he sees the shocking nature of reality. Everyone's just a battery and plugged into this matrix being used as energy by the machines. He sees that with his own eyes, and then he gets flushed down, literally goes down into the abyss, and he gets pulled up into the light. They save him from drowning. He gets pulled up into the light, a great scene. And then he's in the second act, which is the initiation. So in his initiation, he then has to be trained. All right, so there's all this mind training he has to do. He's literally plugged in. He's got these programs. He has to learn how to fight, and now a whole new set of skills. Now that he's awakened from the matrix, and in this there are tests. So if you recall, he has to fight Morpheus. He has to do the jump program. He has to jump 50 meters to another building, which he fails, so he has some failure, and clearly there are some allies and some enemies. So Trinity and Morpheus are trying to help him, and there's that Cypher guy and maybe some of the others who are not that keen, and they actually want him to fail. So all of that starts playing out in his new reality, and then he has to go and approach the inner cave. So if you recall, he goes to the oracle. He's a symbol of the inner guidance, and she gives him a message, and she says, you will have to make a choice between your life and Morpheus's life. And she's given him exactly the information he needs to know. So that's the Holy Spirit. The oracle was the Holy Spirit guiding him and giving him exactly and Morpheus says to him, remember, she told you exactly what you need to know and nothing more, which is exactly how it plays out. So she's told him he has to make a choice between his life and Morpheus's life. And that will help him down the line to make the right choice. So then the ordeal begins, because if you recall, what happens is that Cypher betrays them. So there's a betrayal, and the agents come for them. They all Morpheus gives up his life for Neo. It says, he's more important. And now he's being interrogated, and he's in the dream, and they're trying to crack his mind open. And then Neo has to make the choice to go back and save him and risk his life and say, actually, my life is not more valuable than Morpheus's. I'm willing to sacrifice my life to save him, as Morpheus did for him. So there's a humbling, you see. He's had to humble himself, the separate self, and that's exactly what the oracle was trying to teach him. That he who humbles himself will be made great. It wasn't like I'm the great avatar, I'm the one, therefore I'm going to let Morpheus die. No, he's my mentor. I love him, I respect him, and I want to save him. And so then he goes, okay, well, I'm going to go back in, and he has to go and he has to face the ego. And they go and they have that famous scene where they get through all the army and machine guns and they save him, and he's coming into his power, but he has to face Smith, who's the epitome of the ego. That's his alter ego, who's really just wants to destroy him, kill him and destroy him. And he actually, instead of running from him, he actually has to stand his ground and face him. And so that's symbolic of facing the ego, saying, okay, I've been trained enough, I've been initiated, I'm not going to run away from you because you cannot kill me. And he almost does. He has him in a grip, and the train's coming, and he's saying, this is the inevitable sound of death. It's the sound of death, Mr. Anderson. This, really beautifully acted scene, just showing you, it's the ego's a death wish, and it wants to bring you to death. And he claims in that moment, his true identity. He says, no, my name is Neo. Neo is the one, just spelled differently. So my name is the one. I am the one self, and I have the power to overcome you. And he literally throws him off his back. He's on his back, casts him off, does a spectacular black backflip and escapes from death. So like very, narrow escape. It's just showing you that this can be a, kind of life and death situation. But he's gone through the ordeal. He's faced him, and he hasn't run. So that's raised his awareness up. He has the courage. He's starting to believe that he can actually win, and he can overcome the ego, being the agents who speak for the matrix and all the limitations of the matrix. And then he runs away from them. He's trying to get out, and they finally catch him and shoot him. Right? It's the final scene. He gets shot, and he has to die. So his heart stops. He's dead. They check him. He's gone, but the power of love awakens him. So from beyond the illusion of the matrix, Trinity, who really deeply unconditionally loves him, kisses him and says, I love you. This can't be possible that you're dead. She denies the possibility of death. She believes in the eternal power of love, and she brings him back through that belief. Then he awakens. So there's a resurrection, literally a resurrection, and at one-ment in love, because there was a great kind of loving connection between them, the holy relationship. And he then awakens to his true self. He has a second awakening. So he, as the oracle prophesied, he did die, but he resurrects. The death wasn't permanent. He comes back, and now he's in a totally transcendent state. Right? His second death in the movie puts him into the transcendent state that is totally beyond the power of those agents to affect. And the last scene, this agent who previously, he just fought him 10 minutes before, now he's just like looking at him like, what, I'm not even bothered. and he just blocks his punches easily, kicks him to the other end of the corridor, and then actually jumps into him and explodes the ego. So it's symbolically he's just undone that whole ego concept and destroyed it. And then the other agents run from him because it's like, well, this is the one. You cannot fight. The ego cannot overcome the one. The power of the one. Once the one knows that the one is one, and has overcome the fear of death, which is what he had to go through. And then he returns, the final scene of the movie, he returns with the elixir. So he's now in the phone box. If you remember, he makes a call to the architect of the matrix, and he's saying, I'm going to show you what you don't want I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to awaken them to the truth of who they are, and where we go is a choice I leave to you, which sets the scene for the next movies. But he's returned with the elixir. So he's gone through this, if you look at the diagram, through the death and then the rebirth. And he did that twice in the movie. He's had a number of revelations, and he's come back finally as the awakened avatar, knowing who he truly is in the matrix. And then he makes a call to the architect of the matrix, the ego, and says, right, my purpose now is to awaken these people from this matrix, from this dream that you've spun over them. And we'll see, let's see how the game is on. And that sets the scene perfectly for the follow-up, the sequels. So there you can see classic hero's journey in the Matrix, and you could apply this to any other Hollywood movie that's based on the hero's journey, and many of them are. The Harry Potter series, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Avatar, most of these blockbusters that have really done well at the box office have the hero's journey at the core of it, because the filmmakers and scriptwriters know that we resonate with this journey because it's in our nature to do that. Everyone actually wants to awaken, and so if we're not doing it ourselves, we like watching characters who are doing it. And we resonate with those characters, and we identify with them, which is why we want to go watch the movie, because part of us identifies with the characters, and it becomes an emotional experience for us because of that. And if there's not the hero's journey, there's some really bad movies, just action movies that don't have that. It's very flat. It lacks the depth. It doesn't have the meaning that a story based on the hero's journey has. And those movies don't generally do as well. They're certainly not the classics like The Matrix and Star Wars that we speak about, and that will go down in the cinema history as like a classic movie. So maybe you can see in your own life, where you are in this 12 phases, and that can be quite comforting. If you're just crossing the threshold and it's feeling difficult because the threshold guardians are trying to stop you, it's like, okay, know where you are. That it's meant to be difficult. The ego puts these obstacles in place to try and stop you. Maybe if you've made that decision, and now you're facing some trials and some tests. Well, that's all normal. And that is part of your training. You see, without the tests and the trials, you can't awaken, because that's how you learn your lessons. And that's the initiation that you need to go through to lead you to this death and rebirth experience, where the ego dies and you're reborn into your true self. The trials are all part of it. It's as a necessary part of the journey. So you can't shortcut it. There's no, oh, well, I just want to awaken and get to the end when I'm at the beginning. It's a journey, and that journey might take years. So the hero just says, okay, I'm up for the journey. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, how this is going to work, but I'm up for it. And I will do whatever it takes to fulfill the journey, right? Which means I must go through the necessary stages to get to the end, when it's just a new beginning, really. The end is not the end. The end is a new beginning, because you now come back into the matrix as a transformed human being, an awakened human being, who can help other people in their awakening, who can then become a mentor and a guide and a helper for others in their journeys. And that's how it works. And so then it's an interlocking chain of awakening. You awaken, and then you help others to awaken. This course and this program I've designed would not have come if I hadn't gone on my own hero's journey. And I wouldn't be able to help people if I hadn't gone through this myself. And when I was going through it, it wasn't pretty and it wasn't nice. And I didn't feel like maybe I would ever teach again, because it felt like my world was deconstructing and what was happening, and because I was losing my identity. And it feels terrible to the ego. But it's necessary in order to awaken to who you really are. So maybe you're going through some of that. It's like, oh, I'm feeling really fearful and scared and my world's deconstructing. Well, that could be a sign that you're really in the final throes of undoing the ego. So that's good, you see. It helps you to reinterpret it. Instead of freaking out and saying this is terrible, and then you run to a psychiatrist who drugs you and stops that awakening, you go, oh, this is all good. This is part of the process. I need to go through this. So it's a very, very helpful archetype to know about and to remind yourself of frequently on your journey, because it can help you to know where you are and then get through the next stage and understand what might be coming. So then you have guidance. This guidance through this process would be then the Holy Spirit saying, okay, just trust me. It's a process. I've got you, and I'm guiding you at every point. When the mentors come and the helpers and the guides, and you get the new skills and the growth, that's all the Holy Spirit guiding you to awaken. So it's always there with you. So you start recognizing in the hero's journey that you can't do this on your own, that you have to call upon a power that is beyond this world to do it. And that power is the Holy Spirit. And the more you do that, the more you call upon that power. Okay, another test. All right, you ask for guidance, you ask for help. Then it's given to you. And the more you do that, and the more it's given to you, you go, well, I'm never alone. How can I ever believe that I'm alone and I'm abandoned? When over and over and over again, all I've got to do is call, and the answer is given to me. Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door will be opened. Seek and you will find, as Yeshua said. It's there. Just ask. And in when things get tough and testing, that's exactly another test to make you ask and go deeper in your faith and say, okay, but there's nothing your spirit can't handle. So I ask again, and I ask with more faith and more conviction this time. And every time you ask and you get an answer, your faith is strengthened, you see. So you start learning experientially who you are. You start learning that this loving essence in you is more powerful than the ego and can overcome any challenge and any trial and any temptation that it throws at you. And that's then your awakening to who you really are, as the avatar knows that they are one with source. They are one with the eternal loving awareness that is the ultimate awareness behind everything. And they know that they are one with that. That's their one-ment. But they know that experientially because of their journey. It's not a theoretical exercise. You can never get to one-ment theoretically. It's a journey. You have to live it. You have to walk the path. You have to go through the difficulties, get over the threshold, overcome the trials and the failures, grow, learn new skills, and collapse the ego eventually. Go through the abyss, the flames, the death and the rebirth. Those are flames, because in the flames, then the old self dies and the new self is reborn. And then, like, the phoenix arising from the ashes arises from that experience. And so, that's the journey that we're all on, whether you like it or not. Yeshua says to us, you can't choose the curriculum, right? The curriculum is set. But what you can do is you can choose when you want to take it. Just going to go into the text quickly. So if I can just get out of there. So in the introduction to the text of A Course in Miracles, this is what he says. So perhaps let's take turns to read that. So a very good introduction to the whole process. Christine, would you like to read the first couple of lines of that? You need to unmute yourself.
The this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course.
Carry on, because that was just very short, until say 5.
Only the time you take it is voluntary. In other words, it takes as long as you want, right?
Yeah, I would put in a 4 there. Only the time you take for it is voluntary.
Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum, and it means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time.
So what he's saying is the curriculum is set. This is the curriculum, right? Your hero's journey is set. You can't establish truth. Truth is beyond you to set or not. But you can choose when you want to take your hero's journey. That's up to you. You can delay it, you can procrastinate, you can avoid it. And many people spend their entire lives doing that, staying in the normal world, not very satisfied, but too fearful to go out of that world into the unknown world. And so the majority of people are not on the hero's journey. Well, everyone is, but they're not actually actively. They're not choosing to be the hero. They're choosing to remain in the normal world. Maybe at some point they'll change that. But people who are awakening are the heroes of this world, because they're choosing consciously to awaken, and they're choosing difficulty. This is not an easy path. But would you prefer this chosen difficulty, where you have to overcome these trials and tribulations and undo your ego, than the constant misery of the ego, being in this normal world where there's no change, there's no hope of any change? If you stay there, you'll get what you always got. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll get what you always got. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Einstein said these things. Kind of obvious, but yet people live their lives as though if I keep doing the same thing, somehow that formula is gonna work. And it's not. The Spirit's saying it's not gonna work, it's never gonna work. So your only option then, if you understand that this is never going to work to bring you the happiness and the peace that you yearn for, is to leave it. There's no choice then. You must leave the normal world behind, and you must go on this journey. That's the only sane option. Would you agree? To stay behind in the normal world doesn't make any sense at all when there's no hope there. But you have to see that for yourself. This is all, it's a choice. It all comes down to choice, which is brilliantly shown in the Matrix, because you got red pill, blue pill. It's your choice. Morpheus is your choice. I give you the choice. It's up to you. You want the truth, I'll give you the truth. But remember, it's only the truth. I'm not promising any illusions. I'm not promising it's going to be nice. I'm just telling you it's going to be the brutal truth. Or you can go home, take the blue pill, and believe whatever you want to believe. Go back to sleep and choose to believe whatever you believe about this experience. And then it's not my concern anymore, because you've chosen not to awaken. So I can no longer help you. So we all face, that choice. Are we going to choose to awaken, take the red pill and go on a journey, or not? And yes, you're all here tonight because you've chosen to awaken. And well, at the end of this, for those who haven't chosen to take it forward, I'll give you another choice, which will be like the red pill, blue pill choice, to say, okay, am I actually up for the journey? Is this going to lead somewhere? Was this just another Zoom call I've done that's interesting, but I'm not going to take any action on it. Okay, so that leads us to where we are. We're in the session in the present moment. All good. So any comments, questions about any of this? Sort of a summary. Is quite a long teaching today, because I wanted to sort of put it all together and summarize it all, and these different strands. Can you see how it all fits together so beautifully? Whether you approach it from Yeshua's perspective of the miracle, or you look at it from the perspective of the hero's journey and Joseph Campbell's archetype, or you look at it from flow, it's all really saying the same thing, because it's one universal truth. Yeah, Eleanor, so you've got a hand up. Question or comment?
Just maybe your perspective on the hero's journey and different levels of the hero's journey. You know, you can do a hero's journey and get to the end part. And so you can, there's another world out there. It's called the unknown world. And you could be going through another hero's journey of another kind. So
yeah, I think you can do this a number of times. I mean, if you looked at Neo in that movie, he kind of did it twice, because he had an awakening the first, and then there were, he kind of he had to do it. He had to do it almost, cycle through this twice, a death and a rebirth twice. So you can do it once, and you can have awakened to something more, and then there can be another call, where you go, okay, but hang on, there's a call to go out of this now. So you can have levels of normality. Some people's like normal world, well, you've transcended that. You don't believe in the material world as absolute reality anymore, but there's maybe some other beliefs there that are in the way. So now it's about questioning that and saying, okay, well, maybe it's about leaving this all behind. Ultimately, you leave a world behind. You leave this world, the world of time and space and form and bodies and problems and pain and suffering and sickness and death, and you leave that all behind, and you go into another world, another reality, shall we call it, maybe not a world, another reality that's beyond that. And that's the ultimate. Beyond that, if you're in the eternal, in that infinite eternal reality, there's nothing beyond that. That would be awakening, the final awakening. In your human journey, though, that might look like, okay, let's say you've finally awakened, like someone like Yeshua did, ultimate enlightenment, but he still had some time to go. He still played that out. He stayed around for a few years. He taught. He went through the crucifixion and the resurrection. He had a journey still to play out, to play his part in this at-one-ment process for humanity, to give us a powerful archetype of an awakened person and a demonstration of what it is to be awakened and to live as an awakened person in this world, and that ultimately death isn't real. He transcended death and showed us that, which is hugely helpful for anyone now following in his footsteps, because we have the example. He's the way shower that showed us, look, this can be done. You can transcend death, and the ultimate illusion of the ego, which is this crucifixion and death. It's going to kill you and humiliate you, kill you, is illusion. It's not true. He overcame that. So there was the the miracle there for all of us to see. So we might go through this a number of times in our life. It's possible, but ultimately, the final one would be where the ego dies. There is no separate self anymore. The separate self concept is gone entirely, and then you are perfectly at one. You're perfectly enlightened, and then it would be the end of the cycle. There would be no need to do another cycle. You wouldn't need another life to have another hero's journey, because you would have learned your lesson.
Thanks, Jonathan.
My pleasure.
So I had a hero's journey within a hero's journey yesterday, which is really quite interesting, because I had another of the emails from the petty tyrant, and sent me off into the fear thing again, but not as intense, but it was still very distressing and very traumatic. And fortunately, bizarrely, I've in the past always said to him, don't email me at the weekends, but he ignored that, and it worked out well because Sally was here. So Sally was able to help me find the lessons in it and find how to release the fear. But I had this complete feeling of failure that I just wasn't getting it. And at that moment, a book arrived that Sally had ordered. It was a Kenneth Wapnick book on the 50 miracle principles of A Course in Miracles. And it described exactly that. Do you know which page it was on? That people feel that they go backwards, that they've gone backwards, that they've learnt nothing, and they feel complete failures, and they feel like giving up. But in fact, it's part of the journey. You have those trials again, and it looks like the same thing, but it's not. So it was just amazing that, it felt like a message from spirit that at that moment that book was delivered, and Sally just very randomly opened it. And it was exactly that. I had literally said those words a few moments earlier.
Yeah.
Don't know if you can now,
but you see, so then you see how this plays out in real time in your life. It's extraordinary. The archetype is true. That's why, you know, Joseph Campbell is a genius, because he's tapped into something that's actually true for everyone. If you undertake the hero's journey, you see these phases playing out in your life, and you can see it in your own experience, and then it becomes very, very real and helpful for you. I mean, it's all illusion ultimately, but it's a journey of awakening, and to understand it. And when you're in your moments of, you know, despair, when you go, oh, I'm a total failure, it's all lost, you know, it's pointless, I want to give up. The spirit comes in and says, no, you're succeeding. You're actually succeeding. And this is just the ego trying to convince you that you're a failure, to try and pull you back into that, you know, that dark, normal, known world, which that email and the petty tyrant symbolizes. And it's saying, no, actually, you can transcend it. And there's a little sign, a little book, you know, with a message for you to show you that you're not alone, and that actually the spirit is guiding you, and there is this power that's there helping you through this. And then you start to have faith, don't you? You go, okay, well, you know, maybe I shouldn't doubt. It's always there. You know, it doesn't matter how tricky the situation seems to be and how difficult the challenges seem to be. The spirit's always there, and I can always ask for guidance, and it will always help me. And you start to have faith in that. The more you do it, you know, initially we don't have faith, do we? We're like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm like, you know, because we're going to the unknown world, and it's like stepping, and, you know, we don't know whether anything will catch us. There was a great scene in another movie, I think it was one of the Indiana Jones movies, where you had to cross a chasm to get to the Holy Grail. It was Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. And there was a chasm, and he had to take a step of faith. There was nothing there. He had to go, okay. And then, you know, he steps, and then whoop, you know, the steps appear and they support him. There's a great symbol in the movie of like, okay, take the step in trust and in faith that, you know, you're not going to fall, that you're going to be supported every step on the journey. And it's like, oh, wow, actually, I'm not falling. I'm being supported. Okay, well, maybe I now have the courage to take another step. Oh, I'm still supported. Oh, and then you start learning, like, I'm always supported, and I can always call on that guidance, and it's okay. You know, I'll be all right no matter what. And then, you know, you become quite powerful and robust. It's like, okay, you know, I'm resilient. This is what we call resilience in psychological terms. Again, that Cotton On has said this is the resilience intelligence. You know, there's emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence, resilience. Well, it actually comes from the spiritual knowing. When you connect with your source, you know you're on your journey, you're being guided, you have this resilience. And so it doesn't matter what the ego throws at you. You go, okay, well, bring it on then. It's a great scene in the Matrix where he's on the platform. He's being absolutely beaten up. And he you know, spits out the blood, and he gets up, he does a little kung fu move, and he goes, come. And he beckons him. He says, okay, come. I'm not going to run away. And that's the moment where the ego is starting to be undone. You know, and the whatever his controller was, you know, looking at all of this from above, goes, what's he doing? And Morpheus says he's beginning to believe. He's believing in his true self and in his power from that self to overcome this ego, that it cannot actually defeat him. And that's, you know, exactly what we all face. You know, the ego comes and it comes, but it's like, no, I will not be defeated. I will face it with my courage, in my true self, with the light, and I know that I'll be given the guidance. And if you have that faith, it will always come. You know, it's inevitable. It will come.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else like to share a miracle? I'll share one actually, because it's, you know, the miracles are what make us believe. You know, so I had situation about 11 years ago where I really had to face my fear. So it was kind of a consciously created thing. I went into a situation where it was a whole free man movement, which you may or may not be familiar with. But basically, they were saying, look, you're not bound by the laws of this world. The statutory laws that government makes up are actually false. You are a free man in common law, and you're not bound by these statutes. I was like, okay, I resonate with that. It really spiritually, it resonates with what I believe. So I decided to act on it. So I didn't was in South Africa. I didn't renew my driver's license. And I had you have a registration disc there. I didn't renew that. So I'm driving around and I'm like technically illegal. And these cops, I was on the way to a retreat, and these cops stopped me, and they're like, well, and I had a number plate saying, I am free. That's what they saw. I am free, right? So they were like, okay, this shouldn't, you shouldn't have to be driving around with the number plate, I am free. So they're like, well, what's going on? So I explained the whole thing to them, and they didn't really get it. So they, in the end, they arrested me, pepper spray, the whole, handcuffs. This is for one night. So I spent one night in jail. I got bail the next day, and I'm very glad I did it. It was actually one of the best experiences of my life, because I saw the inhumanity of man to man. I spent a night with these guys in jail who had no hope. It was just like they've been there. That some of them been there for years. I spoke to them. They don't know what's going on. They've got no money. The state's not really representing them. One guy's been awaiting trial for 3 years. I'm just like, what a crazy. I just thought that's just the cruelest system. So I really it was a great experience. I'm really glad I did it. And then I had to go and decide whether I was going to pay an admission of guilt fine and just be done with it, or I was going to fight it. And I was like, no, you know what? I need to stand my ground. So the prosecutor said, just pay the admission of guilt. I said, no, I want a trial. So I returned 6 weeks later, and there was a chap who was in a small town in KwaZulu-Natal, Christine, called Matuba, Northern KZN. And he was doing a permaculture project there. So I said to him, look, I need some support from the community. So I went down a couple of days before it. I did some talks. They were translated into Zulu. And I basically got the community behind them, and I organized a bus. And so we bussed about 50 people into the magistrate's court on the morning. So I had community support. I wasn't on my own. And I prepared. I had my whole argument. I was gonna talk the free man stuff. And I knew that I wasn't going to enter the domain of the ego. So I didn't enter into the court, because then you're basically agreeing to be judged. And I stayed outside, and I said, so finally the judge called me. And all I did was I stood up on the bench, and I had a loud head. And I said, well, before I do that, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask. and that's all I had to say. It was the most extraordinary thing. He just disappeared. He just left. He left the courtroom. And so this big bad ego system that I'd had some fear to overcome the night before. It was quite. I was like, I could go to prison here. I really had to face that darkness, but I did. And in a meditation, I found the light, and I was like, it's going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay. Whatever. I found that place of certainty in my own mind, and it was more than okay. It was just a done deal. The guy just left, and there was no. That was the end of it. I just walked out, and I was free. Quite extraordinary. So it showed me the power of faith and the power of courage. If you will face the ego fearlessly, then even a system like that seems to be so powerful and invulnerable, it just the judge just walked out. He couldn't face me. So it was a great from a spiritual point of view, it was a great learning for me to understand that that experientially that this power of light can overcome any darkness but you must take it. And I took it to the extreme. I went, okay, I'm going to take it the whole way. I'm not going to back down here. And as a result, I think that really confirmed in my mind that this is the only way. I must walk this path, and it's the path of freedom. Not just for myself, but for everyone. I vowed that I would try and do something to help those those mostly kids, they were teenagers, young adults, who've been locked up by a system that has failed them and then condemns them and says, you are now condemned to this life in prison because you've committed a crime, but we've given you no hope. There's no possibility of anything else. That the society's failed them. So it was really like something needs to change. So it was a big part of my hero's journey. So these experiences are there to show you. I mean, that judge leaving the court was just miraculous. It's like, how does that happen? I didn't expect that. I was expecting a proper, like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm committed. Like Spirit's told me what I need to do. I'm committed. I was 100% in, and then the miracle happened. And like, you just can't anticipate these things. So wherever you are, whatever trial, tribulation you're facing, there is a way out of it. But if you will stand in your courage, you will face. That was my moment of facing the ego, like in the Matrix when Neo had to face Smith. The system, and realizing that it actually is quite weak, and it can be overcome. This is based on a false thought system. Okay, so let's just tag back here because I actually wanted to finish this. We got sort of halfway through this. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. Okay. And number 6, someone else read. So Sally, maybe if you can read.
The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite.
Okay, so pause it there. Any thoughts on that?
Feels very empowering, doesn't it? That well, for me it does. But it just feels like it's such a strong statement. That love is what it's all about. And that's always here, and I always am it, whatever. Even when I think I feel fearful, I'm not. I'm still in that presence. Feel safe, feel strong.
You're saying he can't teach you the meaning of love because that's beyond what can be taught. That can only be experienced. But it aims at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is the fear and any other negative thought and emotion, which is blocking our natural inheritance. So he's framing where the course, he's saying, okay, this is the scope of this course. I can't teach you the meaning of love. It's beyond what can be taught. So that's something that you'll realize in time. But what I can teach you is to remove these blocks. And that's what this course is dedicated to doing. To removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, whenever, however they show up. And they show up quite often, don't they? Those blocks are the challenges. Those are the trials and the tribulations and the obstacles that show up to show you that what is not true is true, that the ego is true, that the world of illusion is true, and the spirit is not true. That's what the blocks are designed to show you. You're saying, but you can remove these blocks by removing your faith in them. You just don't believe in them. You believe in a transcendent power that can overcome all the blocks, that's beyond all of the blocks. And then he says the opposite of love is fear. Apparently there's an opposite now to love, which is in a word fear. So that's anything that's blocking the awareness of love. It's a contracted, limited, separate self. But then in the same sentence, he says what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So he raises us above the level of the dream, above duality, you see. So in one sentence, look at what he's done. He's gone from opposite of love is fear. So apparently that's duality. And then gone, whoop, we'll just raise ourselves above that level. We go back to our diagram here. This is exactly what you do when you forgive or you let go. You go from apparently the opposite of love is fear So you're in the red consciousness. There's apparently an opposite, which seems to be quite present in your mind. So that's the ego's red arrow is fear, telling you, no, this is real, and therefore, you need to fear, you need to judge, get angry, fear, and this idea says, no, actually, there is no opposite. But actually, what is all-encompassing, so this is everywhere. This blue is actually everywhere. It permeates. I've done it for the purposes of a diagram. If the blue was everywhere, it wouldn't make a very good diagram. So I have to put it above. But actually, this diagram is the background, right? It's the space within which all of this happens. It's actually the blank page within which all of this happens. And that's everywhere. The page is everywhere. So the ego has put these marks, the red marks, but actually there's much more white space, isn't there? Because what's all encompassing actually has no opposite. He's asking you to transcend your illusion of opposites, which is then, that's why it's called a non-dual path, right? Non-dual means not two. So there are not two things going on. There's only one thing going on. There's not love and fear going on. There's only love. What is all-encompassing can have no opposite. It's a statement of pure non-dual truth, which is what this course is dedicated to. Okay. So any questions on that? Eleanor, any questions on, I don't know how familiar you are with the Course in Miracles, but perhaps read the if you can read the final lines for us.
Okay, just a second. Is that number 2? Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists.
Yeah.
Herein lies the peace of God.
Yeah. So this is the summary. This course can be summed up very simply in this way. So nothing real can be threatened. So reality, this transcendent reality, this dimension, the blue, cannot really be threatened by anything that's seemingly happening to you in time. That's what the teaching's saying.
Yeah.
And then nothing unreal exists. So the corollary to nothing real can be threatened is that nothing unreal is true. It doesn't really exist. So all the red stuff and the ego's psychological and emotional attachment to the events and circumstances of your life in this world is unreal. It's a dream. It seems to be happening, but it's not. It doesn't have reality. So you can safely let it go. Say, well, if it's just an unreal existence, then I don't have to believe in it. I don't have to honor it. I don't have to make it real in my mind. I can safely let it go and allow myself to abide in the state of reality, state of nothing real can be threatened, where there's no threat, there's no fear. Then you see, if I'm just rooted in this awareness, there's nothing to fear. So it's the end of fear, it's the end of doubt, the end of worry, the end of anxiety. Just living in a state of pure awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, we call it. And when you're in that state of mind, then the peace of God, the peace of this pure awareness, pure formless awareness, perfect love, we translate God as, is with you, just by default. So those two lines are really important. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Therein is the whole teaching, really, of this course. Very, very simple, but to really apply that in your life is why we need a teaching. Why he's given us a whole course of mind training to help us realize this, that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal, nothing unreal exists. And I really get that. Not just an intellectual idea. It's a felt, known experience in my reality. I really understand that deeply. And if you don't, then that's normal. We don't when you start. That's why we study it. It's been said, if you fully understood this introduction and these 3 lines, you wouldn't need the course. You'd be enlightened already. You go, okay, well, I've already got it, so I don't need to study what I already understand. fully, that would be something. But do we really understand? Have we really got that to the depths of our being? Can we really live in a fearless state where nothing threatens us? Well, I mean, you'll know the answer if you know by your own experience of life. If fear still comes up, then clearly you're not believing that. You're making the unreal real, giving it existence in your mind, and you're saying that actually I can be threatened. This is why I'm experiencing fear. So these situations that come to test us are there to help you. They're there to show you your level of awakening. And if you haven't fully awakened, then to take another step towards it, to let go of that fear in that instance, and by applying this teaching, and take another step towards reality, away from unreality, into the peace of God that surpasses all understanding, as the Apostle Paul called it, which is a lovely description, because it's not intellectual, it's not rational. Rationality will not bring you the peace of God that passes all understanding, because it goes beyond the rational. Right? We're talking about a non-dual teaching that really looks at everything the ego's made and says this is unreal. So the entire world of time and space and form, which seems to be perfectly reasonable to the ego, the Holy Spirit is saying this is totally unreasonable. It's a projection of an insane mind, and it's really not necessary. If you're in your true mind, in this all-encompassing state of knowledge, being pure formless awareness of perfect love, you don't need form, you don't need time and space and a form identity. This is a delusion. It's not required in truth. And when you understand that, then you're awake, and you've awakened. Question?
Ask you a practical approach to this. So in my situation where, I've got another threat of court actions, maybe something utterly trivial, but, he knows, he's got the judge in his pocket, however it works. So I clear the fear, yes, I can. Do I then say, well, fine, let's go back to court? But I know that, really in my heart of hearts, I can win that, because, whatever relation, there's now a whole string of injustice, and this woman's never ever going to find in my favor, because her own reputation's at risk. So do I say, well, it's not real?
All kinds of prejudgments on the situation. See, you've already decided that that's the case.
But you always have to use discernment and common sense, don't you? Like, you can't say, well, I know I'm going to die if I step in front of that lorry. Let's give it a go anyway.
It's fair enough, but we're not talking about stepping in front of a lorry. We're talking about a court action. So it's different.
With penal notices attached.
So what you got to do is totally let go of trying to control the situation. That's your answer. If you can really go into that fearless state, and you're just resting in pure formless awareness, and you say, okay, I have no idea. You show me. I have absolutely no preconceived notion of what I should do in this situation.
Yeah.
And you're in an empty state, and then the Spirit can guide you. And then you will get the guidance in some way. You get a thought, something will happen. It will show you the way to go. But it's asking you to empty yourself of all of your own ideas.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you can't really do this. The separate self, Jackie, is not miraculous. We admire it in the duality of it, and the fight and the fear. So it's asking you to transcend that and go into this domain where nothing real can be threatened. You realize that, like experientially, if you can experience a state like I did in my experience. It was different court situation, but I really got to a fearless state the night before. I was like, okay, I'm in my power. I'm okay. There's no fear anymore. I'd done away with the fear. So the battle was won metaphysically before it was won physically, you see. The judge walked out because I'd attained a higher state. I'd transcended my own ego. If I'd gone in a fearful state and I hadn't done that spiritual work, the outcome would likely have been very different.
Yeah.
I know that, because it was what happened metaphysically in the mind. It was what determined the outcome. So that's you do that. You really collapse your fear. You really attain this high state of, you're like, you know what, I'm not, there's no fear anymore. Whatever, bring it on. Just let's bring this to a conclusion. Bring it on. I'm not scared at all.
I thought I had for the last one. I thought I had a fabulous case. My sister said, you know, defend yourself. Nobody knows your case better than you. I wasn't even allowed to speak. I was just like, you know, got the same bullying approach from the judge, his barrister. You know, you do as I say. So I had to sell my house at £500,000 less than it was worth, because, you know, they decided.
Yeah, so what you're facing there is your own ego, you see. So maybe the spirit's saying, okay, so go face them then, but face them in your power. You go, you know, as not as Jackie, but as the Holy Spirit in your power, with the power of love with you, and then you see what happens. And that could be a very interesting experience, very transformational experience for yourself and all concerned, because if you truly go in that power, I can guarantee you that the outcome will not be the same.
Okay.
So you got to have faith in that.
Yeah.
The ego cannot sustain against that power, right? It cannot. I've seen it, you know, firsthand. You face them in your power, the situation will change. The Spirit, the Holy Spirit, will come in, and it will transform that situation in a miraculous, beneficial way, which you probably can't imagine now. But I didn't. The thing was, when I did my experience, I didn't go into, oh, what's it going to look like? You see, I didn't go into, how's this going to work out? I didn't try and work it out. I just went, you know what? I'm fearless. I'm in my power. I know what I've got to do, and I'm going to go and do it. And I'm very clear. There's no future focus. I was totally in the now. I was probably more present than I'd been up to that point in my life. I was totally there. There was no fear. I was in my power, and the guy couldn't face it. He was like, what is this? It's like an energy he wasn't familiar with. He was used to poor little victims coming along, and they're all fearful, and, you know, there's no opposition. And suddenly he's like, whoa, like huge opposition. And I've got a crowd behind me, and I'm going to video it. And like, he's like, no, I'm out of here. I can't deal with this.
You probably thought it was going to get shot.
I don't know what he thought, but he was probably scared, you know. So
Yeah, he probably was.
Every bully is a coward. Remember that.
Oh, yes.
Every bully is a coward. So you face a coward in your power. They don't like that. Their fear will come up, and yeah, they might try and attack you. But if you're truly in your power, it's not going to affect you, and they will actually crack. So watch before you do anything. I want you to watch a movie called Revolver.
Okay.
Guy Ritchie, Revolver, brilliant movie.
Yeah.
Because he's facing, it's a situation where he has to face its nemesis, the guy, and you know, it's a hero's journey, and that last scene is just brilliant, because he reaches his you know, his true powerful state in himself, and he faces the guy who's got a gun, and he's just like, I'm not scared, do whatever, you know, threaten my life, I'm not. And it blows the guy's mind. He can't deal with it, because he should have the power, being, you know, he's got a gun. That's his world. The ego's
Well and good, John, but that is fiction. I wouldn't be taking any chances on that.
No, but it's a principle. It's a spiritual principle that's important, you see. He stands in his power, and he faces him without fear. That's the point. And because he's fearless, the guy can't deal with it. He's like, you should be fearing me, and you're not. It blows his mind. He can't, it freaks him out. He can't handle it. So you do that. They want you to fear. You face them in a fearless state. Then see what happens.
Yeah, I've done that, and she keeps. When I do that, she gives me worse and worse penalty. That's why I got the penal notices.
But give it to the Spirit, Jackie. Give it fully. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to trust 100%. Give it fully to the Spirit. Say, okay, you're in charge here. I know nothing. You just direct everything. All my thoughts, all my words, all my actions I'm just being totally guided by you. I'm not trying to take control of this. I'm not referencing it to past experience, because that's what the ego will do. Oh, no, but in the past it hasn't worked, so therefore it can't work in the future. That's not a miracle-minded state, is it? Because you're letting the past come in and say, oh, well, it's going to be exactly the same as it was in the past, because that's what's happened.
Yeah.
But how do you know? You don't know. You know, the truth is you've got to step aside. This is the humbling. Say, I don't know. I actually don't know. I have no clue. I don't know how to deal with this. All my attempts have failed. You know, it just led to failure and misery and more pain, and this thing's ongoing. So, okay, I don't know anymore. You do it. Like, I'm totally open. I have no idea what to do. You direct every thought, every word, every action. You show me. And if you really can do that, and it will test you, because you've got to let go of Jackie. You know, the mind, you can see how your mind comes up. Oh, no, but, yes, but, yes, no buts. Just give it all over to the spirit, really, and say, okay, I don't know. You show me. And you will see a power coming through that will astound you, because there is a miracle waiting for you here that could be your transformation could be the death of the ego and your transformation into this new self. And this experience could take you there, because it's that, you know, it's that traumatic. It's been that traumatic, hasn't it? So there's the power to awaken you completely from the dream, if you allow it to. And that's, you know, that's what's before you. So you, if you want to look at where you are in the hero's journey, been through a whole saga, right? Trials, failure, temptations, all of this. Now maybe you're approaching this. It's like the death of the ego and the rebirth into the new self. And it's like you almost want it to come to a head. It's like, okay, bring it on. Let's have it up. Let's bring it on. Let's go through that process, because I want to come out of this. You know, enough of the training and etc. I want to come out into the oneness and the peace and the joy and the freedom and my true purpose. It all lies on the other side. And it'll be intense. It'll be the most intense experience of your life, possibly, but it won't kill you. It'll only kill your ego. And you will awaken to who you really are. And the result on the level of form could be so miraculous that could inspire others to do the same thing. You know, and then it becomes a story that you can tell. Maybe you write a book. You know, there's a whole purpose that unfolds when you return, having been through this experience that you wouldn't have had unless you'd gone through the experience. Now the awakened hero, like Neo, coming back and saying, okay, well, I can now help other people who are in this situation. There must be many women, men, you know, divorce is a common thing, who have this, you know, injustice, and they're feeling alone. And you say, well, look, I've been through all of that and I overcame it, and this is how I did. And so now that your story becomes a way to reach them in their normal world and to help them to awaken, which is what it's all about. And that's all waiting for you on the other side of your death and rebirth, which may be exactly what this is about. So, you know, that email when he's saying, okay, we want to go to court again, it's like, okay, don't be scared of it. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, bring it on. Let's have it on there. Let's do this. And he has no idea what he's facing. No cooking clue, I promise you. You really go into the power of the spirit. They won't know they just will not know it won't make any sense to them. That is probably the biggest gift you can give him, because it will rip it'll just go, what the hell just happened there? How was that possible? He is so convinced that the ego works, and he uses those tools, and you show him through the miracle that it doesn't work, that there is another power that can overcome it. That's the biggest gift you can give him, which might cause a kind of mental breakdown. You don't know, but that's what happen.
Maybe
So the ego has to collapse. You know what I mean? The whole construct has to deconstruct, and there has to be like okay, that just totally blew my mind. I just didn't see that one coming. In the same way as, you know, Neo just explode. Smith can't deal with it anymore. He's like, what is this? I've never dealt with this anymore. This is an awakened person who doesn't follow the normal rules. He's not scared of me anymore. And he's so awakened that he can just dive into my code, which is like a metaphor for going into the mind, and just explode those beliefs. It's like the whole ego construct is just done away with. So I mean, and this is your, I mean, isn't it exciting? Isn't it exciting? It is. It's like, this is your hero's journey. This is your awakening, and it's happening real time. It's not a movie. It's happened. You're the character in the movie, like living through it. You know, this is the epic stuff of, this is what people write books about and movies, and you're experiencing it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so just see.
But aren't I also supposed to awaken to the fact that I'm not a body and just?
Yeah, but in the
It doesn't
process
matter.
of awakening, it can be an amazing experience. You know, enjoy it, enjoy the ride. Maybe it's your last trip here. Okay, I'm gonna just, like, this is the story of Jackie's awakening, and I'm living it, and I'm living the dream. I'm living the happy dream, and I'm gonna do this with the help of the Spirit, and I'll be an example to others, and I will awaken from this, and it will be the story of, you know, this is why you came. This is why you came.
Mm.
This is why you incarnated. This test is why you came. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, bring it on then. Come on, let's get it on. Why am I scared? This is what I came for. Exactly this. And then there's no fear anymore. It's like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
And you'll have to remind yourself of that, you know, the fear might come in again, but
Yeah. Good
but
point.
can you get the like, I'm coming to you from the Holy Spirit saying to you, Jackie, just believe, have faith in me, because I will show you.
Yeah.
But you got to give it all up. You know, it's like, it's not a sort of an 80% or 75% deal. It's like, okay, go there 100%. You give it entirely. You say, okay, I'm willing to take it all the way.
Yeah. So I'm giving up my belief that I do any of it myself in order to hand it over to the Spirit, rather than letting go of the situation, which is in fact just giving up.
You let go of your interpretation of the situation. See, that's the problem. Perception of the situation. Oh, but it's always happened like this in the past. He's got the judge in his pocket. I mean, that's just a belief system. Do you see that?
Yeah.
It's not the past. And that's now the ego coming into your mind saying, well, this is how it is.
Yeah.
So if you believe that, then, well, by your own belief, you are condemned. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That's what you believe.
Yeah.
So that's how the matrix works. It gives you back what you believe. Okay, well, you believe the judge is, you know, all powerful and there's no way. Okay, well, then we'll give you that experience again. You see it?
Yeah.
So that's how the past enslaves us. The only way out of this is to say no. It's not about the past, my story. That's all past. It's all over. That has no reference at all. That has no meaning at all in the present moment. Because in the present moment, there's no limitation, right? There's no order of difficulty in miracles and what the Spirit can do right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I allow it, that's the caveat, isn't it?
Yes.
If I get in the way and I block it, and I come in with my time-bound consciousness again, which is what you've just demonstrated. Yeah, oh, no, but that's how it's happened in the past.
Yeah.
See, it binds you to the timeline. Oh, well, because it's happened that way in the past, then it's bound to happen in the future again.
Yeah.
And then you're in the chains of the ego. There's no way out there because, oh, it's happened in the past, so it's a done deal in the future. This is how it's happened, so it's going to happen that way again. No. You got to let go of all that thinking. No, absolutely not. Because that past experience is unreal, right? It's gone. It never really happened. And the self that you were when you had that experience is no longer there. You've awakened from that self. You're not the same person anymore. So you're not the same person. How can you expect to have the same result? It's different. It's a different thought system, a different self that's now experiencing it. So you're not bound by the limitations of that past self because you're no longer that self. Do you see how the miracle works?
Yeah.
You're into the unlimited self, this unlimited oneness of yourself, the Christ that you are. It says, no, you're not limited at all. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Right now. In the present moment, you know, so you collapse past and future. You go, I'm not outcome oriented. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about what the outcome's going to be. Just take present guidance. In my situation, I knew what I had to do. It was like, okay, I'm just going to do what I have to do. That's all I'm asked to do. I'm asked to show up in my faith and my courage, and I'm asked to confront this judge, and that's the task before me. So that's what I've got to do. And beyond that, I cannot see. I'm not going to go into, oh, what's going to happen. And when my ego wanted to do that, I stopped it. I was like, no, don't even go there. Just be present right here, right now. I'm in the power of the light, and I stay there, and everything's going to be okay then.
Yeah.
I managed to stay in that state from the night before, and then through the and that's what did the miracle. I was in the right state of mind.
Yeah.
And that confirmed to me, it's like, yeah, if you do this and you have faith, the miracle will be there. And it shows you that this stuff is all true. It's not la la land and some intellectual theoretical concept. It's actually true if you apply it. But you have to apply it. Otherwise, you can't fudge and go, oh, well, I applied and it didn't work. No, did you really apply it? Or did you just go in with the mindset of, well, I'm gonna try? No, as Yoda said, do or do not. You do it in faith and courage, or do not. It's one or the other. You've got to choose.
Yeah.
Ready for this. Your whole life has prepared you for this. You've got, the support of Sally, and you've got this course and me in your corner, and you've got the Holy Spirit helping you, and you just got a great sign today. That book arrived. It's like, okay, it's got your back. This power's it's saying, I'm in your corner. So you can take on the ego knowing that you cannot fail. Whatever the outcome is, you cannot fail, because ultimately your outcome from this is awakening. That's the outcome. Whatever it is on the level of form, it's actually what you want is spiritual awakening, to awaken from this dream of fear and awaken to your true self. And you cannot fail then if you approach it fearlessly. Whatever the outcome is on the level of form, you've succeeded.
Yeah.
If you went to prison, you've still succeeded because you've achieved your outcome.
Yeah.
But you got to trust. You see, you got to trust the Spirit to look after the outcome. It'll work it out in a way that you can't see and you can't conceive of right now. Because that's what the miracle is. It's beyond conception. It's beyond what you can work out with your intellectual, rational mind. It doesn't obey the laws of time and space.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Is that helpful? Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Love it. And then you are living the hero's journey. That's the amazing thing, the inspiring thing about this. We are living our hero's journey. You're living it out. You're not vicariously, watching. Most people sit watching heroes on TV. You're living it. It's much more interesting. You're living it. You're experiencing it. You are the hero of your own journey. And you can be someone else's hero. They could look up and go, wow, how did you do that? That's incredible. That's amazing. And you go, it's actually not so amazing, because you have the same power that I have.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know it yet. I didn't know it, but fortunately someone helped me to know it, and now I can help you to know it too. And that's the whole point of the hero's journey, is once you know it experientially, you can teach other people, because you have the knowledge. You know it. Not just intellectually, theoretically, that this is true. I'm speaking to you from experience, because I've been through the experience. Like, I've been through these kinds of experience, and I know it works because I've actually done it. So I can say to you with that, with that experience, yes, it does work, but you've got to have full faith.
Yeah.
And really commit, and I gave it 100%. I was like, okay, people thought I was crazy. What are you doing? This is madness. But I'm very glad I did this, because it was a fantastic miracle. And it gave me the courage and the faith to go, you know what, I know that it doesn't matter how dark the ego looks, what the system that it's invented, there is a way to overcome it, because I've experienced it. And watch the space. We'll see what happens. But that, for me, that was an archetype of an experience. It says, well, the entire system can then be undone. If that can happen, then the entire unconscious ego system, the whole thing, the financial system, the legal system, the medical system, the entire ball of imprisonment that the ego is woven around us, the matrix, can be undone. And I know that. It's It's not just a belief. It's not something I'm trying to believe. I know that in my heart of hearts because I've had the experience. And you will come to know it too through your experience. And then if enough people do this, you start building. I mean, these kinds of heroes, the people are awakened, the system can't really deal with that. They don't know what to do with them because you don't follow the rules, and you can transcend the rules. You can break the rules. And the more people that do that, the more the world changes. Because you say that all these rules are just a load of nonsense. It's just made up story by the ego to keep everyone in a mind created prison. That isn't
I would
true.
say that he breaks all the rules. Has total disregard for the legal system. Perhaps
Yeah,
he's got the spirit behind him.
So he's the Antichrist. He's the antithesis of what's good and true and light. You break the rules in a positive way, he manipulates and uses the rules in a negative way for dark purposes.
Right.
But
Yes.
what a great lesson. There you go. There's Christ and Antichrist. Well, which do you choose?
Mm.
And if you face the Antichrist as the Christ, and you see that the Christ is more powerful, then you've undone your own belief in the Antichrist.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
ego no longer has power over you. And he's giving you that opportunity. So your greatest opponent is your greatest teacher. You know, Smith, Morpheus, Neo needed Smith to awaken. He had to face the ego in that form. So Smith was unwittingly awakening Neo through all of his opposition and trying to kill him. That's how it works. The more the ego tries, the more the spirit goes, okay, great, this is gonna wake this mind up to its true power. And in the end, it's got no answer to it, as was demonstrated well in that movie. Well, watch the movie, by the way, in the course, the Also Letting Go course. So we'll do a proper film study on it, because there's some great, lessons there. It's like the archetype of your own journey. Can you learn from it's not just a movie. It's like, can you learn from the phases and the experiences in your own journey and apply it? And you can, absolutely. You are being asked to face your Smith and do it fearlessly with courage, knowing that you cannot be beaten.
Yeah.
You're invulnerable. No matter what the outcome on the level of form is, you will succeed because you will awaken to your true self.
Yeah.
And with that intent, nothing can stop you. He can't stop you. The legal system can't stop you. Nothing can stop you from awakening except you. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, your own ego is the only obstacle, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
And it's just playing out in form as, oh, it seems to be the judge and the legal system and, your ex. And that's on the level of form, that's what it seems to be, something outside of you, but it's not. It's actually just the belief system in the ego that's now being manifested through those projections of it, who are allowing their minds to be used by the ego to fulfill its purposes in this world. So they are slaves to the ego, and actually your job as the Christ is to awaken them. And you awaken them by confronting the ego and saying, no, it's not correct. There's another way. And I will show you. I will demonstrate to you. It's not theoretical. You will see the power of the Christ in me. And it'll blow their minds. They won't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
So, watch Revolver. Another one I think I recommended before is Les, how do you say Les Miserables?
Les Miserables.
I can never say that properly. Les Miserables. Because it's the same thing. The guy, the ego, what was his name? Jean, the prison warder.
Yeah.
Jay something.
Jadot, something like
that, yeah. But he couldn't face the realization of the Christ in that in the guy who he tried to imprison and condemn. He just like, I can't deal with that. It's too much for my ego to cope. So he commits suicide, because it's like, rather that than cope with the realization that he's wrong. His entire life has been built on a false thought system, and he's just seen the demonstration of the truth, and it's so much more powerful that his ego just couldn't cope with the challenge. So these movies can really inspire us. They show us what is possible. again, he was facing his nemesis. He had to face him with the power of the Spirit and courage and light, and he forgave him. He couldn't get his head around the fact that this guy has forgiven me when I've pursued him mercilessly my whole life, and he's just forgiven me. I can't deal with that. It's too much. So there might be a similar kind of comeuppance for your ex and the judge. They will get there. Everyone, if you believe in the ego, you will get your karma. The law of karma that's how it works. Not that they're getting punished, they're just getting the lessons they need to get to awaken. And you might be part of delivering that. By showing them that there's an alternative, and that's your responsibility as the miracle worker in the situation for everyone. So it's your own at one moment, but it's also theirs that you're working for. Because they are enslaved. They don't realize it. They are enslaved by the ego. They are puppets of this insane thought system, and they also need to be free. And you showing them, the freedom that's in you could help them to awaken. Certainly question their thought system would be a major spanner in the works, because they're so convinced that their way works, aren't they? But you show them that it doesn't, that there's a higher power. And then and they can't believe in it again, can they?
Yeah.
Because something else is shown, something else has come in that's demonstrably more powerful. They won't be able to understand it, which might be then the catalyst for their own awakening. They might have a wake up call and go, oh my God, what was I doing, and how could I have been so unconscious, and forgive me, Father, for they have an awakening experience. So you just don't know, but that's the point. You don't need to know. You just show up in your power, and that's all that's required.
Yeah.
And you let the Holy Spirit take care of the consequences.
Because I'm prejudging. I couldn't imagine an awakening. I mean, this guy masqueraded his way through church.
Yeah, but you couldn't imagine it. But actually, some of the most unconscious people are actually close to awakening, because they're so dense in the ego that they might be like it would probably take a major trauma, but you might give that to him. It could crack the shell of his ego, and he just goes, what have I just been doing?
Yeah.
Because he's, the ego's just taken charge of his mind. He's possessed. Right?
Yeah.
The mind is possessed by this insane thought system, and it gets increasingly more insane the more you believe in it.
Yeah.
You see it. It's just like insanity upon insanity.
Yeah.
And he can't be happy. I mean, anyone who's possessed is like, who are you anymore? He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
Possessed, demented person, possessed by a thought system of attack and fear and hatred, and I mean, that can't be a pleasant reality to be in at all.
Yeah.
So if you still love him, the true self in him, then this could be how you free him from his ego's imprisonment.
Yeah.
Which is then the act of unconditional love. So you face him in that spirit. I don't want to hurt you. I want to awaken you. Actually, because I see the Christ in you, and I see you've just lost your way, and the ego's taken over, and you need a correction. And you're the miracle worker. You're the bringer of the correction. By listening to the Holy Spirit, it will work through you to bring the correction in the situation to all the minds involved. And then watch it unfold. I can't wait. Story unfolds. Yeah, just let's see what happens. But doesn't it inspire you? I just get like, wow, this is what it's about. It's like actually practically in so-called real life. It works. And we're seeing the hero's journey unfolding, and it's a real life case study. And that brings it from the domain of the theoretical to like, okay, this is actually really practical and helpful and useful and as real as it gets in this world. So that we can all learn from it, all be inspired by it. And that's why I teach this stuff, because it's not theoretical, it's practical, it actually works. And when you see it working, it's amazing. Miraculous. Okay, so let's shall we have a look at the lesson for today? time's cracking on. I'm aware of that, but it was really good. I thought that was. I hope that conversation was useful for everyone else, because it's an example of how you put this into practice. So let's take a look at today's lesson. It's pretty short and sweet, and then we'll do a meditation. Okay, so 358. Okay. So, Jackie, if you can read the original up there and then the alternative for us, please.
No call to God can be unheard nor left unanswered, and of this I can be sure. His answer is the only one I really want. Every call to perfect love will be heard and answered, and I can be sure that I really want only perfect love's answer.
And isn't that just the perfect lesson for you?
Yeah. Blimey.
Have faith. The call will be answered. And you want only that answer. So, in other words, you can't listen to the answer the ego gives you.
Mm.
And I really want only perfect love's answer, because that's the only answer that's going to inspire you, that's miraculous, that's going to free you, that's going to awaken people, you and others in the situation. And it will be heard and it will be answered. That's what he's assuring us. You call in faith, it will be heard and will be answered, because that's the way it works. You're calling on the ultimate power of the universe, which is in your own mind, and it's just been dormant. But you call upon that and it has to answer. That's the law. And then you'll just, your journey, your miraculous hero's journey is just seeing how that call is answered and just living the experience. You know, wow, I'm actually, witnessing this firsthand. And this is my own hero's journey of awakening, from the dream of fear and doubt to the certainty of this presence that is within me, that I now know can always be called upon and will always answer in every situation. And that's what you've been called to do with this court case.
Mm.
There's nothing it can't help you with. So it's like giving it all over. It's okay, well, you do it. You show me. There's no worldly situation, no problem that it can't help you solve, if you will give it over and really listen. Okay, so just one paragraph to do. Let's ask someone else to read. Elaine, if you can read that for us, please. Just read number 1 and then the alternative, and then number 2.
Yeah.
And then the alternative down below.
You who remember what I really am alone, remember what I really want. Alternative, you who remember what I really am alone, remember what I really want. Continue.
Yeah, number 2.
2, you speak to God and so you speak for me. Alternative, you speak for pure formless awareness of perfect love and so you speak for me. And 3?
Yeah, any thoughts on that? You who remember what I really am, alone remember what I really want. Okay, so it's a logical statement there. Because what I really want is to be what I really am. That's all we really want. If we believe we're something we're not, then our only desire is to be who we really are. So what I really want is to be who I really am. That's what it's saying. And that's our only true desire. So we give all other desires up, and we desire only to know ourselves as we are. That's the relinquishment of all the ego's false idols. Okay, and then number 2. You speak for this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love. And so you speak for me, because that's your own awareness. That's your true awareness. It's just been covered over and hidden, but it's still there. Okay, thoughts, comments, questions on that? Or shall we move on to number 3? So number 3, let's ask Christine to read, if you can read 3, and then 3 in the alternative, and 4.
And what you give me comes from God himself. Alternative, and what you give me comes from pure, formless awareness of perfect love itself.
So it's coming from this presence itself. You're accessing your source directly.
And for your voice, my Father, then is mine as well. And all I want is what you offer me, in just the form you choose, that it be mine. Alternative, so your voice, my source, is mine as well, and all I want is what you offer me, in just the form in which you give it to me.
So thoughts on that? And we had a conversation. Does that resonate with you? Because that's exactly what you were saying. So all you really want is to be the source. All I want is what you offer me, in just the form in which you give it to me. So you see, there's the surrender. It's not, you don't try and control the form. It's like, okay, I don't know how that looks on the level of form. I'm not going to try and control that, because how can I possibly know? So you let go of attachment to form outcome, you allow this to come through, and that's the essence of the flow state. If you recall, in this, go up here, it's when we act freely for the sake of the action itself, rather than for ulterior motives, that we learn to become more than what we were. Such a powerful quote. Okay, so let's say in your situation, Jackie, you show up without an ulterior motive. The ulterior motive would be, oh, but I want to win the case, or all of that future orientation. You go, no, the sake of the action itself is I stand in my true self, in that power, in that experience, in the present moment, for the sake of the light. That's it. There's no ulterior motive. It will be what it'll be. See, I'm actually doing it as a spiritual practice, right? That's what I'm doing. Right now, I'm just in the moment. I'm practicing letting go of fear, practicing being in the present moment, allowing myself to be used by source. And the action itself is rewarding in itself. I don't need anything else than that. And then you collapse the ego. There's no ulterior motive anymore. You're not concerned about future outcome. You're just in the present. Okay, I will show up in the present moment in my light, as the light, because that's what the light calls me to do. And the light will take care of the outcome. So there's no ulterior motive. And then you learn to become more than what you thought you were. The old self, Jackie, it's all about, oh, but my self-interest and the ulterior motive, or I want to protect myself, and I want to be safe, and I want to win the case, and whatever. All of that drops away, because in the true self, none of that's relevant. None of it's real. And then paradoxically, from that state of being free of the problem, you actually allow the miracle to happen on the level of form to resolve it. See how it works? That's the miracle. But you won't do it if you still have the ulterior motive and Jackie's still very much in charge, because you're just playing more of the same. It'll just be the same energy, same outcome, which you've experienced. You've experienced the limitations of your ego in dealing with it. It hasn't worked, has it? So what have you got to lose? You may as well give it over to spirit and say, okay, well, I haven't really done this very well. So, okay, I'm stepping aside here, and I'm letting you take care of it. Okay, so that's an important one. Yeah, no attachment to form outcome. Just the form you choose that it be mine. Just the form in which you give it to me. Okay, so it's not up to me to determine the form. But you know how relaxing and freeing that is. I don't have to be controlled about form. I don't have to be worried about form outcomes anymore. Ah, what a relief. I can just show up in my presence, in my power, trust that the Holy Spirit will work it all out. It's not that I'm not doing anything. I am. I'm acting in a very present way, but I'm not concerned about the outcome. So there's no worry because I'm just present and I'm just showing up in that presence moment by moment. It's a very different way of living, isn't it? Which takes some mind training, but when you compare it to the ego's, fearful existence, what have you got to lose except your fear? And all the pain and the misery and the suffering that causes you. So go for it. Okay, so number 5. Let's ask Eleanor, can you read? Chris? Choose to remember.
Yes. Okay.
Let me remember all I do not know, and then read the alternative down below. So just so you know, this is a translation. Down below, the gray stuff is the translated version of the original, because it benefits from some different words. That seems to be the experience of most people. That's why we do it.
Let me remember all I do not know, and let my voice be still, remembering. The alternative, I choose to remember all I do not know, and silence my own voice as I remember.
And that's the letting go of the separate self, the little self, that voice that speaks for the little self.
Yes. Is it done? I choose to remember your love and care, keeping your promise to your extension in my awareness always. So, comment on this. Let me remember all I do not know. Oh, won't we be blessed? Won't I be blessed to remember all I do not know? Yes, it is a form
remember
of
all I do not know. It's kind of
your
mind can't quite make sense of that, but because you do know it on some level, you've forgotten it. So you don't seem to know it now, but you can choose to remember it.
Yes, you've been doing that whole night, reminding me. So thank you.
Yeah, well, that's all I'm doing, really. It's just reminding you of what you already know, but maybe you didn't know that you knew it, so you needed to be reminded. It's a paradox, but that's how it works. Silence my own voice as I remember. So you see that other voice, the voice that goes yes, but, that's the voice you've got to silence. Go, no, but. It just, it is only the truth. And I'm going to listen only to that voice and be guided only by that, because you can't listen to two voices that are completely contradictory and oppose each other. There's no hope of ever having peace and any kind of good outcome if you do that. That's duality, isn't it? Oh, well, I should go this way, and then the other voice saying, no, go the opposite way. Well, you can't listen to both those voices and have any clarity, can you? You're just going to be confused, going around in a circle. So we must choose, one or the other. If you choose the voice of the ego, it can seem to give you power, as you've seen, in your situation with your ex, seemingly, worldly power, but there's a huge but to it. There's a lashback from that. You believe in the ego, then he believes in sin and guilt and fear and attack, and that will come and bite him, because sin and guilt demand punishment, and ultimately that thought system will come and punish him and lead to death. If you believe in the ego, then that's what happens. Look at Hitler. I mean, classic, gave his mind to the ego completely, and in the end, everyone's after him. The entire world's after him. His world contracts into a little tiny bunker, and in the end there's no option but to take his own life, commit suicide, because the entire world he's like enemy number one. And that's what came from all of his anger and his hatred projected out onto the world, came back and came back upon him. The boomerang effect. Right. Okay. Let's ask Sue, can you speak now? You still muted. It's not working. Okay. So let's ask Elaine, can you read the last couple of lines? What have you got? Just number 7. Let me not forget myself. There's nothing. Okay, Elaine, are you there? So let me not forget myself is nothing, but my capital self is all. That's the truth of the matter. I choose to remember that myself is nothing, so my little self, the ego self, is nothing, doesn't really exist. Nothing unreal exists. Myself is all. This cannot be threatened at all. Myself is all. Capital self. So yeah, very short, sweet. These are short pointers into the truth, just to contemplate, to meditate on, and then give rise to this state of mind, where you can actually access this true self. Say hello to who's just arrived. Is that that's Jackie? Hi, Jackie.
Hi, I've had to come
Your
my phone.
laptop died.
Yeah, the laptop died.
Right.
I don't think the phone's got much in it, but should get me.
Okay. So any comments, thoughts, feelings, questions on the lesson? Anyone? Yeah. Just really, it's another reminder to give it all to God, and let go and allow this voice to guide you, and trust that you will always get an answer, which is what we doubt. In our moments of temptation, we doubt that we'll get an answer. We doubt there's something there. If you knew there was something there, then you wouldn't doubt that there was an answer waiting for you. But the hero's journey is the more you call upon this. So you go on this journey into the unknown, and you have to call upon this for guidance, because you need it. You need something to guide you in the unknown. And as you call upon it and you get the miracles, that teaches you that it's really there. And then you awaken to this presence of love that was always there, but was, as long as you're in the known world and you're relying on the ego's magic to keep you safe, you never call upon the truth. You never learn it. Okay. Hey, Sue? That's you. Oh no, that's Christine. I'm just going to mute you. Okay. So that's the lesson. Shall we do a meditation on it? How's that sound? Enough for meditation?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. I'm fine with that.
All right. So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart. Back straight. Sitting on a chair, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. A subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. And just connect with your heart space. Breathing into that, putting one hand on your heart, bringing your mind into the present moment. Breathe into it. And scan your mind for any fear thoughts. The fear is a lack of faith, a lack of trust, and the power of love to help you, to support you, guide you. So you just observe all of that. Fear, the lack of faith, whatever situation it shows up in. It's really a symptom of your own unbelief, your lack of faith in the truth, who you are, and your faith still in the ego, separate self that covers that one self over. So breathe into all of it. Nice deep breath in, allowing some light, which is spacious awareness, into this darkness of all the contracted, limited thinking. And just going to choose to let it all go. With the help of your breath and today's mind training lesson, workbook lesson 358. So no call to God can be unheard nor left unanswered, or in alternative language, every call to perfect love will be heard and answered. So know that as you call, that the answer is already given. Just breathe that in. Breathe in the answer of perfect love into every pore, every cell, muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the answer of perfect love. And assure yourself, so of this I can be sure. And be sure that I really want only perfect love's answer. God's answer is the only one I really want. I want only perfect love's answer. Exhale on the truth of that. And just imagine you blowing away all the dark clouds of doubt. Cannot really obscure the perfect sky of your true awareness. Pure formless awareness of perfect love being the sun analogy, sky as the awareness, just lit up by the sun, shining in radiance. So you just surrender into this experience. Just watching your breath, so breathing in and out through the nose. Feeling the breath flowing into the nostrils and then out of the nostrils. And so the stomach rises, chest rises. Bringing your mind into the present moment fully. Focusing on the breath. Getting into a nice deep, slow rhythm of the breath. You're emptying your mind, emptying your vessel. So only an empty vessel can receive new liquids. Symbolically, you're emptying your mind so that you receive the truth. Forming these words that are an answer to the question, what am I? From Yeshua, our master teacher. So he says, I am God's son. I am perfect love's extension, complete and healed and whole. Shining in the reflection of his love. Shining in the reflection of its love. In me is creation sanctified and guaranteed eternal life. So its extension is honored and guaranteed eternal life in me. In me is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. In me, love is perfected, fear is impossible, and joy is established without opposite. I am the holy home of God himself. I am the holy aware home of perfect love itself. Breathe in on that. Breathe in on the truth of that. Breathe in the love into your heart, to your mind. Using every pore of your body, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. I am the heaven where his love resides. I am the state of pure formless awareness in which perfect love resides. I am his holy sinlessness itself. In my purity abides his own. So I am its perfect love's holy aware innocence itself. For in my purity lives its own. And now our use for words is almost over, says Yeshua. In the final days of this 1 year we gave to God together, you and I. Found a single purpose that we shared. Yeah, in the final days of this 1 year, we gave to pure formless awareness, perfect love. Together, you and I found a single purpose we shared. And thus you joined with me. So you joined with me. For what I am are you as well. What I am, you are as well. So Yeshua is saying he is exactly the same as us. There's no difference. The truth of what we are is not for words to speak of or describe. Yet, we can realize our function here. The words can speak of us and teach it too. We exemplify the words in us. So we can realize our function here. We live by the words in us. Words can speak of us and teach it too. We are asked to live by the words, to live the teachings. This is the hero's journey, to experience it for ourselves. put this into practice. Be the one who gives them his mind over, her mind over to love and allow the guidance to come in. So we are the bringers of salvation or freedom. Accept our part as saviors of the world. Accept our part in the awakening of the world. Through our joint forgiveness is redeemed. Through our joint letting go is freed. So the more we let go, we do that together, we free the world from our own beliefs, prison of ego's thought system, which is false. And this, our gift, this being our gift, is therefore given to us. We look on everyone as brother, as a companion on our journey, on the hero's journey. We're all going in the same direction to the same place. And perceive every event and circumstance. Perceive all things, Yeshua says, but it's every event, every circumstance is kindly and is good. Everything is kindly or beneficial and good. And just breathe in this goodness. Every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, fiber of your being is in this kindness and goodness. Just watch your breath as you keep breathing in and out, kindness and the goodness. So we do not seek a function that is past the gate of heaven. We seek a function that is past the beginning of pure formless awareness. So we might get glimpses of it, but we don't seek pure formless awareness itself. While we inform, realize knowledge will return when we've done our part. Right now, we are concerned only with giving welcome to the truth. Just opening our minds, letting go of our false beliefs, being willing to open ourselves up to what the ego has blocked and denied, to the truth of who we are. Just to listen to that voice and that voice alone. And then the knowledge returns. So ours are the eyes through which Christ's vision, our true self's vision, sees the world redeemed or freed from every thought of sin. Ours are the ears that hear the voice for God or perfect love proclaim the world as sinless, as innocent. Ours are the minds that join together as we bless the world. Ours are the minds that join together as we bless the world. So as you hold these thoughts of oneness, love and peace and joy, then will come to bless the world. Radiates out into the mind and blesses everyone. So we are already one mind. And from the oneness that we have attained, call to all our brothers, call to all of our companions, asking them to share our peace and consummate our joy, share our peace and confirm our joy. And we wish to live in peace with them and experience joy with them. So they just confirm our joy to us. And life becomes a celebration of this peace and joy with others. It's a holy relationship when we meet in love and peace and joy, unconditional love and peace and joy that arise from it. We just experience it together, and it's a beautiful experience to experience God together, connecting in this awareness, this one awareness. And as you do that, you realize that it's really, everything is that awareness. There's no separate self, there are no separate selves, no bodies. It's just one awareness. So we are the holy messengers of God. We are the holy aware messengers of perfect love, who speak for him, it, and carrying his word or its message to everyone whom it is sent to us. We learn that it is written on our hearts. So as we give this message, we receive it, in other words. It's because we believe it. When we give it, the more we believe it, and we receive it, and it's written on our hearts. So you always receive the message you give. That's why giving and receiving are one in truth. And so our minds are changed about the aim for which we came and which we seek to serve. Minds are changed about the aim for which we came and choose to serve. It's a choice. Only two options, two thought systems to choose from. We must choose one. So we choose the correct one. So we bring a happy message. We bring glad tidings to the Son of God, a happy message to the extension of perfect love. We thought he suffered. Just thought it suffered. So we thought we suffered in the ego and our little self-concept, but now we are free. Now is he redeemed. Now we are free. As he sees the gate of heaven stand open before him, he will enter in and disappear into the heart of God. It's beautifully poetic, but perhaps needs a bit of translation to be fully understood. So translated, that reads, as we become more and more aware of the state of pure, formless awareness, we will enter fully into it. Our separated self-concept will disappear in this pure, formless awareness of perfect love. So we disappear, our separate self disappears into this perfect love. And actually, we haven't disappeared, we simply are one with what we always were. Only the delusion of a separate self has disappeared. To be seen no more. All undone, it's all gone. And you rest here in this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, just breathing it in and breathing it out, in and out through your nose. So now we're going to consider today's lesson briefly. So just prepare yourself, breathe in, nice deep, full, long, maximal inhale breath. Blowing the stomach up like a balloon. Feeling the energy rising up the spine as your heart center. Maximal inhale breath. Breathing into your heart, draw the energy up the spine to the crown of your head. Pause at the top of the inhale. So again, bring to mind any sorts of fear, any anxiety about any person, situation, circumstance, or event in your life, anything where you feel nervous, feel like you can handle it. Just be aware of those thoughts, emotions, and you can be aware of emotions by observing them showing up as body sensations. So whatever your sensations in the body are, just observe, and they're unpleasant, limiting, contracted, constricted, and breathe the light into them. And remind yourself that no call to God can be unheard nor left unanswered. Every call to perfect love will be heard and answered. Every call to perfect love will be heard and answered. And of this I can be sure, his answer is the one I really want. So I can be sure that I really want only perfect love's answer. Say that to yourself with a conviction. You exhale and you just blow out any of the uncertainty, the fear, doubt in whatever form, because in reality it's a choice. You're choosing to believe that story, choosing to believe what your mind tells you. So just keep watching the breath and listen to this short commentary, one paragraph on the lesson. So keep watching the breath in and out through the nose. You who remember what I really am, alone remember what I really want. What I really want is to be what I really am. It's not the quote saying. I want to be what I really am. You speak for God. You speak for pure formless awareness of perfect love, and so you speak for me. I'm giving this power giving yourself over to this power. Allow yourself to hear the voice. And so what you give me comes from God himself. What you give me comes from pure formless awareness, perfect love itself. Its own fundamental awareness, my own fundamental awareness. That's where it's coming from. That's where the guidance comes from. Your voice, my Father, then is mine as well. All I want is what you offer me in just the form that it be mine. So your voice, my source, is mine as well. And all I want is what you offer me in just the form which you give it to me. You remember all I do not know. Let my voice be still, remembering. So I choose to remember all I do not know and silence my own voice as I remember. Let me not forget your love and care, keeping your promise to your Son in my awareness always. I choose to remember your love and care. Choose to remember your love and care right now. You're loved, you're cared for. Keeping your promise to your extension in my awareness always. So that we're always loved and cared for. This promise stays with you. It's an eternal promise. Choose to remember. I may not forget. In other words, I choose to remember that myself is nothing, but my capital self is all. So myself, in word small s, is nothing, but my capital self is all. Just breathe in on that truth. Acknowledge only the one self. The one self we share. This is the one true identity. And then just rest in this identity, self, this reality for a couple of minutes of deep silence. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. If any thoughts arise, being willing to observe them, let them go. They're not helpful. If there's any kind of contraction in them, any kind of negativity, you're going into the past, the future. You just look upon these thoughts and you know that they are illusions. The ego has made it up. Designed to cover your own light. So just breathe into them. Remind yourself that every call to God or perfect love will be heard and answered. And I can be sure that I really want only perfect love's answer. Exhale and blow these false ideas away with the breeze of your breath. So nothingness they really are. They're going, gone. All the lower stomach into the spine. Letting it all go, releasing it all. And just rest here now in deep peace and stillness for another couple of minutes of deep silence. Surrender to the self and the loving answer Answer of perfect love to all of your imagined problems and pain. Let that all be given to you experientially in the next. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Breathe, relax, be still. And just be what you truly are, the one self. Remember that yourself, little self, is nothing, but your capital self is all. Remember that in your own experience for the next minute or so. We have a couple of minutes of deep silence. And so just gently coming back in this deep connection, this deep awareness, and you just bring your mind gently back into an awareness of the body, the breath, senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale, smile. Scan your mind. And notice any thoughts, emotions, body sensations going on. And just let go of anything that's feels unpleasant, limiting, contracted, constricted in any way. The breeze of your breath. So choose to remember your love and care. Keeping your promise to your extension in my awareness always. Choose to remember that myself, little self, is nothing, but my capital self is all. Exhale on the truth of that. Just rest in this loving awareness. Few moments. On the count of 2, notice the weight of your body. Pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling, touching. And there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell on your nose. As you breathe in, notice all of this from this very aware, detached state of mind. So don't make any of these illusions real. Don't interpret them, name them, judge them, label them. Just observe without judgment, without interpretation. You know just that if you do that, your mind stays very peaceful, very calm, empty, open, expansive awareness is yours. And you just rest in that awareness. A few moments, doesn't matter what comes in, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, as perceptions come and go, they just blow through the mind, but this awareness is constant, never changing. And changing awareness that you are, if you can access that now, then you awaken to who you are, true self, is that awareness. So let's try applying this with your visual sense. So on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just look around the room for a minute, observing the various objects in the room, noticing what's going on, but with detachment. So just observe an object for a few seconds. If you don't name it, judge it, label it, you notice that this awareness, this underlying awareness, is still there. Nothing's really changed. And then look at another object, notice the same awareness still there. Doesn't really matter what you look at, so just look at half a dozen things. You'll notice that the same awareness is there, it's a constant, it doesn't change. If you don't interrupt it, if you don't start judging, naming, labeling, form, identity, then this open, expansive, spacious, peaceful awareness is there. That awareness is your true awareness. That's your self. It's where you reside. That's your home. That's your love. That's your care. That's your safety. That's your guidance. Everything comes from that state of awareness. So that's what I wish for you, carrying this into the rest of your evening and the week ahead. Brings us to the end of the meditation, and I'm quite happy just to chat for a few minutes about the Art of Letting Go course to those who are interested who haven't yet committed to that. So we can do that now before we sign off. So who's still here? Elaine, Eleanor, Sue. So Everyone's still there. Let's ask them to unmute. I'm just going to talk briefly about Art of Letting Go course, which is starting next Sunday. So we're a week away from it. It's the start of actually a one-year program to study A Course in Miracles, broken it down into, there's 365 daily lessons, workbook lessons, and then we break down the rest of it. There's a text, there's a manual for teachers. If you do a section at a time of that, plus the lessons, it takes you a year. So it's it's a process to guide you through that. And in the 6 weeks, there's a lot of other information and transformational processes that I guide you through, which I'm happy to talk about a bit, based on the teachings of A Course in Miracles, but I bring in other things like the integral model and the map of consciousness, David Hawkins' map of consciousness, integral model, great teaching by a guy called Ken Kai's, which we go through the 12 pathways to higher consciousness. So there's quite a lot of material and new resources I bring in, and then I guide you through a transformational process which helps you to see your ego possibly more clearly than you've ever seen it. And if you can see it, then you can turn it around. I call it flipping your fundamental life operating program. Turn it around, and I take you through a process of doing that in the Sunday sessions. So Sue, I know you're considering it. Hopefully you'll commit this week. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. If you can't speak, then just put them in the chat. And Eleanor, it's something I can encourage you to give it a try. I offer a 3-week free trial to new members. So if you're not sure, you can jump in for 3 weeks and see how it goes, and then decide after 3 weeks if you want to continue. So I can share a little bit more. I'm going to share my screen again. Share a little bit more on it. So in terms of logistics, dates starting next Sunday, the 5th of February to Sunday, the 19th of March. So it's a 6-week period, 7 Sundays in there. We do these live online meditation and discussion sessions from Monday to Friday, and Sundays at 12:30 UK time. That's 2:30 South African time. And then Monday to Friday, we'll also do an evening session at 7 p.m. UK time. It's 9 p.m. SA time. So there's 2 sessions a day. You don't have to join every one. If you do, obviously you'll get the benefit, but if you don't, you can catch up with each session on recordings. So I'll send you recordings of each session via Telegram as voice recordings, as well as they're streamed live to YouTube. So you can catch them on YouTube as well. And I post those YouTube links into the Telegram group we have. So the sessions last anywhere from 1.5 to 3 hours, generally. Tonight's was a bit longer. That can happen, but you're free to leave when you need to. If you need to go, then you need to go. So if you can do an hour, then it's fine. In the afternoons, I'm going to structure it as kind of a power hour, 1 hour of kind of the main teaching, and then afterwards we'll carry on. So there's a natural break at the hour mark when you can leave. And the idea is to get the key teachings and meditation in that hour. So that's the structure. So there's a lot of live sessions. You could spend many hours a week in the live sessions, which are very transformational. Hopefully you've had an experience of that this evening. They're very powerful. You never know what's going to happen, and what needs to happen generally happens. So you can go through that yourself, and you can witness other people going through it. it's a field of transformation that you're in, and when you're in the field, then transformation happens. So in terms of the structure, it's a 6-week process. In week 1, it's an introductory week, so we explore the theory behind the Art of Letting Go course, which is really largely the Course in Miracles theory. So we go into a high-level overview of that. We read and discuss the first chapter of the text. We work through exercises 1 to 3 in the course manual. We study and apply the first 7 pathways to higher consciousness. There's a breathwork course, because I do a lot of breathwork in the meditations. First week is just some of the fundamentals of breathwork, which I guide you through. So that's actually a course in itself, which a lot of people charge just for that, just for breathwork. They might charge what I'm charging for the course. And then in weeks 2 to 6, it's working through the text and the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Work through 35 lessons of the ACIM workbook, chapters 2 to 5 of the text. There's some exercises, transformational exercises in the course manual, which is really the heart of the whole process. I take you through this process of naming your ego's game, turning that around. We call it flipping your flop, and discovering your essence identity in a very powerful experiential way, and then creating a blueprint for your true self. With what are your true values from that essence identity, and your higher purpose. How does that look in terms of what you're going to do with the rest of your life? So it's powerful stuff. We finish the pathways to consciousness. We do a holotropic breathing session to finish the course, and there's a lot in between. That's just a brief summary of it. What I'd suggest is, if you're up for it, join the first 3 weeks. I give a 3-week free trial, and you can then experience it for yourself and decide whether you want to continue. In terms of the value proposition, built in the 7 key spiritual practices and the course information exercise pack, which I'll show you. Get this. Question? I don't know. Do you have a question?
No, I don't. No, I don't have any questions at this stage.
Okay, so it just
No.
sounded
I'm just listening with an open mind, and
like you said something. So sharing, yeah. So in the I was going to share the course manual. That's what I was going to do. So let's just go to here. So this is an email that you would get something similar every day, obviously with different content. And then down the bottom is the links to that course manual and everyone. So click on that opens up. There's the course manual. So this is what you'll be working through. It's a 50-page document. Might just expand it a bit before this. This is needs a bit of updating before the course starts. But essentially, this is the process. So all the material is here. You've got various tools and resources. Got why does it do that? I don't know why that does it. For whatever reason, it's decided to. So you've got various tools and resources in the beginning, and each one of these we'll do a session on. So these will be subjects of live sessions to work through each one. So there's the map of consciousness, 12 pathways to higher consciousness, descent into hell, which is the kind of overview of A Course in Miracles theory, 7 truths, the integral model, Ken Wilber's stuff, which is quite relevant to understanding miracles. And there's a 10-step letting go process and a written process, which we work through, and I'll suggest that you work through that in writing in your own time. Various shorter letting go processes, which can be really useful. advanced letting go techniques and a healing meditation. And then we go into the transformational exercises. So I guide you through a process of really discovering your ego's game, and then drawing it out, naming it, then flipping a flop, finding your true identity, creating a blueprint for your higher self, which is essentially your new value system based on your true essence identity, and your purpose comes out of that. So really the core of it is exercises 5 through to 9. 10 is also very powerful. It's about helping you to find that higher purpose and get clarity on any decisions that are facing you. And then those are follow-ups, selecting your spiritual practices, creating a daily schedule, and making this your own, and so that you continue on this path in a very guided way. So it's a pretty comprehensive course. There's a lot in it. That's why we do all the live sessions. You get all the recordings as well if you can't access the live sessions. And okay, so I see Sue's just messaged me, and Jackie. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of value in here. I probably don't have time to go into all of this, but I can show you. I can show you. How this is all broken down. But there's a huge amount of value, plus some past recordings. You get audio recordings of past coursework, past sessions as well, if that's not enough for you. So I've just given a standard kind of 90% discount. That seems to be industry standard, and then an extra early bird discount, which it's not really early bird anymore, but I'll give it to you anyway, because we're only a week away from it. And then a 3-week free trial discount as well, because I'm effectively giving you half of the course free. So that's your free trial. I'm hoping you'll continue after the course into the program, which is 1 year. So until this coming Monday, it's £147. So until tomorrow midnight, it's 2970. If you don't want to do that, then you could choose to do just the 3-week free trial starting next Sunday, and decide after 3 weeks. But you wouldn't get the early bird discount. So it'll be more cost effective if you do it this way. I do give a money back guarantee in the first 3 weeks. So whether you go for the 3-week free trial or a money back guarantee, 6 of one and half a dozen of another, really. So and then in terms of the ongoing value, if you decide to stay with us, there's a 1-year program where we do this repeatedly. So there's live online meditations 6 times a week. There's live online discussion sessions. There's recorded meditations, breath breaks, and discussions. There's one contents-rich email every day. I've just shown you an example. We used that as our teaching. There's several Telegram messages per day, so I send out the messages on Telegram as well. And you've got the course up front. So all of that comes to something in the region of £15,000. And again, I'm discounting that by a lot. So if you feel guided and you want to jump in now, you can do the whole year for £970 or 19,970. But if you just want to dip your toe in the water, you can do that and just join us on the 3 weeks and see how it goes. Yeah, so that's any thoughts, Helena? Does it?
No,
sense?
I don't have any thoughts. I'm going to have to go through all your, I've enjoyed this evening. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through everything that the latter part here. So we have got major issues in terms of power outages here in South Africa. Quite bad.
Load shedding,
Right.
Which is problematic. But if you can make some of the live sessions and you can do the recordings.
So there's quite a lot for me to kind of churn on, and I'm probably coming to the UK within the next month or two.
Okay.
Well,
To just for a holiday or to live or
no, not to live. Not,
Yeah.
not this stage yet.
yeah,
This
yeah,
stage.
just for a holiday. Yeah. Well, I'm in the UK. It's, at least we have power.
Yes, exactly. So
Helpful.
there's
There's,
quite a lot this side here in South Africa. So I cannot, I've enjoyed this evening and
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, once you give you an experience of it, we do this every day, so you can join in these sessions every day, and every day is different. Every day is effectively a masterclass. So we do a similar kind of structure, some teaching, and there's an email, there's a quote, there's teaching around that. Then we go into a workbook lesson. There's a meditation on it, and
I have the book, the Course in Miracles book, and a number of years ago I kind of went through it, and thereafter the path took many ways of integration, and so I've got it there. In fact, I took it out about a week ago just to
have you actually, I mean, have you looked into it? Have you actually read it cover to cover?
no, I haven't read it covered. I know that you do it because I'm on a group with you, so I know that you do this daily, and I know that you've been at it for a number of years.
Yeah, well, it's a walkthrough. If you really want to get to grips with the Course in Miracles, this walks you through it in a pretty detailed, systematic way daily. Because I think that if you're going to do it properly, you have to do it daily. Because there's a lesson every day. If you're going to do the text as well in a year, you break it down to one section of the text. There's 31 chapters plus the manual for teachers. If you break it down, it ends up being most of the year that you're studying the text and the manual for teachers, and there's some supplements. So it's a 1 year program. It's a deep dive into this really profound, amazing teaching. It's
I believe you, really. I mean, the Course of Miracles is the Course of Miracles. It's stood the test of time.
Yeah, it's and it works. I see it all the time.
Time difference also, it's like, what's the time now? Almost 11 o'clock here. Whereas, so they said time difference thing. It's like pitch dark, this, that, and the other. Yeah, and I've got to get going within the next few minutes.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
Bear in mind that time difference as well.
Yes,
there's only 2 hours, but 2 hours makes a difference here.
Yeah. Well, the evening sessions for you would be at say 9 p.m., but you don't have to join.
Which would go on until past midnight, kind of a thing.
No, they'll be shorter. We're going to do the text in the evening, so it'll be an hour to 2 hours. So probably till about 10:30 or 11, which is still, that's sort of a reasonably normal bedtime. Which is a consequence of that time difference. But on the ongoing program, that for most of the year, the time difference is only 1 hour. So then it's a little bit better. We do something. The ongoing program, will be slightly different. It's going to be just one session a day, because 2 sessions isn't sustainable for people. But for the first 6 weeks, because there's so much material to cover, and I want to cover it all in live sessions, then I do 2 sessions. So think about it. If it resonates with you, what I'd suggest is join us. Just jump in on a free trial and see how it goes for the 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, you'll know whether this is something you want to continue with or not.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That sounds good. I've been pretty, we've been great to be on this evening, but normally this time it's off. South Africa isn't, or at least here where I am in Cape Town, it's in darkness.
Yeah, because you actually had power tonight.
Yes, I've got power this evening.
Well, you can join on your phone and just use mobile data, so that's an option.
All right.
And if you can't make the live calls, then do the recordings, because you can listen to those anytime on your phone. And there's a lot of value in the recordings. But I mean, the live calls, you've experienced it. It's an experience. You have an experience of it, being on it and being in the energy of it, and it's powerful. If that happens every day, you're immersing yourself in a field of transformation. You're giving the Holy Spirit every opportunity to create the shifts, the changes in your mind that it will facilitate. So it's like an online retreat, 6 weeks. You don't leave your current location at all, but if you can spend a few hours a day doing it online with other people, you'll get there's huge benefit in it.
All right. Yes, thank you, Bruno. Amazing.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining, and let's speak. If not tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. Think about it tomorrow. If I haven't heard from you, I'll call you on Tuesday. Starting on.
My email's much easier. At least I can get that. If there's any info or any links or anything that I should be aware of, just pop me an email then.
Yeah, okay. I'll send you a follow-up tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks
So,
so much, Jonathan.
let me know your
Good
thoughts.
in your presence again.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
And you're welcome to. So what you could also do, Elaine did this, is you could just join for the week. So your 3 free trials anytime. So if you feel inspired to do so, you can join in the next week as one free trial. That's also an option.
Is that online as well? Well, if we've got the current game, we can do
Yeah,
that.
so I'm finishing off the 1-year program. So we're going to do sessions this week.
Okay. Oh, I see. All right.
Taste of them, what it's like, and get started if you feel inspired to do so. And I send out emails and Telegram messages every day, so that what you saw. I think you get my Telegram messages. I think you're in one of the groups, aren't you?
Not on Telegram. I get WhatsApp.
You get the WhatsApp.
I am on Telegram, but I'm not on your. If there's a Telegram link, then you can send that to me.
Yeah. Well, I can add
WhatsApp.
you to. I can add you to the Telegram group if you want to join.
All right.
And say, yeah, okay, I'll start. Then your free trial starts. So it's late. You're probably tired. Think about it. And,
It's been a long
let
day.
me know tomorrow.
All right.
Okay. Thanks,
Jenna. Thanks.
All right. Namaste. Thanks for joining. All right. Thanks, Elaine. Are you still there? You gone? Ask Elaine to unmute. Elaine must have gone. Okay. So I'm going to end the session there then. Thank you to everyone for joining. It was a great session, and hopefully that will help everyone concerned to stay in the light, listen to spirit, listen to guidance, no matter what challenges you're facing in your life. And I hope that you're watching this on a recording. This will inspire you to join us and for the Art of Letting Go course. So if that's the case, we've got will reach out to me, message me, or welcome to join our next live masterclass, which will be on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. South African time. So hope to see you then. Thanks for listening, everyone. Wishing you a very peaceful, flowing week ahead. Namaste. Which means the true self, divine self in me acknowledges and honors that same self in you.